Yeah. The only time we haven't been doing that is when we're doing remote, and then we could just tell each other like, "Hey, asshole, I can't hear you."
What?
Yeah. But I've also got Luna Girl always keeping me honest too. She texted me again last night when we were doing the Cobra Kai. It's like, "Hey, your mic's out."
Fucking weird.
This is the sound check portion of the podcast. This is the pre-show.
To the sound check portion of the show.
So as always, please keep us honest and let us know how we sound.
We're checking on the sound. This is the musical interlude of from a Gen X point of view.
Yes, this is Dave trying to make Jason laugh as he's drinking.
And the sound is very different today. Here we are sitting on a tin can.
All right, well, we've gotten a click from Bronco Fett and Stone.
That's usually good sound.
Yeah.
Good time.
Insert smartass comment here. Yes. You're all hilarious. Glad you all have a good sense of humor about it.
So I was watching that. Remember Hadfield? I was telling you, you want to follow an astronaut like who has actually some good shit out there.
Yeah.
Follow Christopher Hadfield. Well, one of the one TED talk that he does, he plays Major Tom at the end of it.
Really?
Like he sits there and plays guitar and plays Major Tom. It's just like, dude, all right, you're already fucking an astronaut, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're fucking astrophysicist, astronaut. You've been in the space station, flew in the space shuttle, the Soyuz rockets, fucking all over social media, like super likable guy, Canadian, just like,
well, nobody's perfect, I guess.
Yeah. Well, but then you're going to sit there during a fucking TED talk and then you're going to play guitar too. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, why do some people have these embarrassment of riches?
I know,
I don't understand.
How much can I show you how better I am?
Yes, right.
The rest of you.
Let me just make sure that I'm dominating you in every sense of the word.
Oh yeah.
Probably got a giant dick.
Probably. I'm sure he does. All right.
This is
Cobra Kai notes.
Control to Major Tom.
All right. We ready to do this? We got a good sound check. We got a ton of people in the chat.
Sweet.
Sounds to me like we're ready to roll, son.
Yep, let's do it.
We got 40 nations ready to roll, son.
Yep.
Right. Like who? Who the fuck said that? All right. Well, whenever you're ready,
I got
give us a countdown.
Which one did I want to do? All right. Ready?
C.
3PO.
What was that? Oh god, sorry. Between the chat and Dave's meow in the countdown video, from a Gen X point of view, is brought to you today by
podbelly.com, as it usually is per every week so far. What's wrong with the meow?
It was just very unexpected.
You saw this video. I showed it to you.
I have no memory of this.
Oh my god, dude.
How drunk was I at the time?
I don't know. We did our remote.
Yeah.
But do you remember how good podbelly.com is?
I do. Especially because we're on the front page today.
We are on the front page today. You want to let's prove it. There it is right there. Go to podbelly.com and you will pig out on podcasts, as Kevin the Pig would tell you. And I need to scroll over here so that I can scroll to the screen. Look at this. Look at it. There's us right there. And look at all these other podcasts that are on here. The Mindframe podcast, the Sofa King guys, Breakers, Paranormal Punchers, all this good shit right here from the Podbelly Network. You can support the Podbelly Network members. And you could also, hey, you know what? I listen to all those guys. I have all the time in the fucking world to listen to podcasts because I guess people do. And you were really interested in something else? Go into the podcast directory. And you could find, oh, look at these guys, the All Things Star Wars podcast. We may know those guys. How about the Escape Pod? They're in there. The Used and Abused podcast is in here. pages upon pages of podcasts.
An endless supply of podcasts.
If you want to listen to a podcast, go to podbelly.com. They'll have all kinds of podcasts for you to listen to. If you want to start your own podcast, go to podbelly.com. Really good tutorials in there, talking about equipment and everything else.
Yep.
Go to podbelly.com. Tell them Dave and Jason sent you from a Gen X point of view, and you will do it.
And you will do it. So speaking of podcasts, what is this podcast talking about today?
We are talking about stopping the screen share. We're talking about MTV today.
Yeah.
So here's the
what did the mic do to you, man?
I don't know. I'm fucking freaking out over here. We're talking about MTV, and quite frankly, it's kind of exciting, because MTV is one of those foundational pieces for us as Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
The whole just music videos in general and exposure to different types of music because of what was on MTV, as opposed to like a terrestrial rock station or anything else that you were getting exposed to.
Yep.
It was a way for you to improve your repertoire, as it were. And I'm going to go ahead and out on a limb and say that Gen Xers, we probably have the largest catalog of music that we follow.
Yeah,
because we're coming from like the 60s era and coming all the way into like the 2000s and the pop era. We have all of this music that driving in here today, I knew it was a product of the MTV generation because I have my old iPod plugged into my car and just scrolling through some of the shit that was in there, just hitting next and seeing was in there. Everything from fucking Pearl Jam to Pantera to fucking The Doors to Boston, like all this different stuff. And of course, a bunch of John Williams stuff too, of course.
Oh, naturally.
But yeah, MTV is the source of all this. So we're going to break it down.
Yeah. And let's be honest right now, we're not going to nearly be able to cover everything that we want to in a 2-hour podcast. So there's going to be stuff that we miss. Sorry, we can follow up in a future episode.
Sure.
We're going to try to cover as much as we can, mostly focusing on the 80s and 90s, but there's some stuff post 2000 that I just want to touch on a little bit.
Sure.
And we'll get there. But before we get into that, this is our music topic of this month, right? We mentioned last week that we're now going to try to do one music topic a month, one movie topic a month, and then a couple of floating topics. To go along with our music topic, something that we used to do with the All Things Star Wars podcast, we would do a day in Star Wars. Right. Your wife, Kathy, actually came up with that suggestion.
Yes, she did.
So I thought it worked out really well for the first year before we started looping back and started getting a lot of repeat stories. So it only lasted a year, but I want to do the same thing with music. So we're going to do, and even movies when we get to our movie topics. But today we're going to talk about this day in music. There's a really cool website. I'll put a link to it in the show description. And it's got a whole plethora of shit that happened this day. We're only going to touch on like 2 or 3. The first one being in 1967. You mentioned The Doors. The Doors, on this day in 67, so January 4th, released their self-titled debut album, The Doors. The album features their breakthrough single, Light My Fire, and the lengthy song, The End.
Come on, baby, light my fire.
Yeah, with its Oedipal spoken word section. The album was recorded at Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, California over 6 days, and unique packaging of the album included each band member's bio. And again, the fucking Doors, when the Doors movie came out, you remember when that happened in the early 90s? Fuck, it might have been like 90, 91 kind of time frame. Val Kilmer as
that's right.
Fucking Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
So there was a big Doors revival at that point. This was also, and we're going to talk about this as we go along through MTV, talking about revivals of certain genres of music or bands coming back.
Right.
You talk about like Queen, how they came back with Wayne's World.
Oh, hell yeah.
And, like shit like that kept happening throughout our generation. And one thing that happened was the Doors kind of having a revival where I was semi-familiar with their music. You'd every once in a while hear it on the radio or whatnot. But I wasn't fully exposed to it until that movie came out. They started reissuing the albums. They started playing it on the rock stations again. And as soon as this revival happened, I was all fucking in. I'm like, ooh, this is some fucking cool shit. Now, obviously, it's,
Well, here's the Doors for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
the terrestrial radio, I think I talked about it before, that we have a rock station that's been a rock station since the 60s, right? So
Nice.
and it hasn't really changed formats. I mean, obviously the music's, been updated over the years, but they still have, like, it's still a rock and roll station.
Mhm.
So listening to that in the car all the time, that was kind of like, I caught the greatest hits of the Doors through that way. My parents weren't huge into the Doors. They had the Revival came out, and I think what hit me in the face with the Revival was being down the Jersey Shore, right? Being down the shore, and all the Doors shit was everywhere. It was on t-shirts, the fucking flags. You go into Spencer's Gifts, there's fucking Doors shit everywhere, right? So that I was not into the movie, not super into the Doors music, but it was like, wow, okay, here it is. And talk about one of the pivotal bands of that generation, in that era of the 60s. That sound and the uniqueness of the sound.
And then, of course, you had the tragedy of Jim Morrison dying young.
Yeah.
And what could have happened had he not fucking OD'd and died in a bathtub.
Yeah, it's unfortunate reality of some of these stars, the rock stars that have had similar ends.
Dennis Leary, we're going to actually talk about him in this episode,
right?
But Dennis Leary had a great bit in one of his stand-ups talking about the Doors, like specifically the movie. He's like, I can sum it up for you in 5 seconds. I'm drunk, I'm nobody, I'm drunk, I'm famous, I'm drunk, I'm fucking dead. That's the movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was one thing that happened on this day in history. Another that we kind of talked about before we went live was in 1975, the year you were born.
Yep.
Elton John started a 2-week run at #1 on the US singles chart with his version of the Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, his third #1 US hit, featuring John Lennon on guitar.
Right.
So you had mentioned that you preferred that version.
Yeah.
Over the original Beatles version. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard the Elton John version.
I'm sure you have.
I'm very familiar with the Beatles version because I went through this phase where I was like super into Sgt. Pepper. I knew like the whole fucking album, like front to back.
Yeah. I grew up on the Beatles, and I celebrate their entire catalog. For whatever reason, the Elton John version, which I couldn't even we should, next time we do something like this, we need to be able to play a clip,
queue up a clip.
Yeah. Just because you've heard this song, you've heard this version of the song, and I think it's not necessarily this version of it, the 1975 version, but he'll play this in live shows. And when I haven't seen him live, I think it would be a really neat show to go to.
Sure.
Not necessarily on my bucket list to go to, but it would probably be one of those like cool shows before he dies to type see, or before he can stop singing anymore.
Right.
But
how old is he now?
I don't even know. How
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, Jamie.
How old is Elton John? So those are the couple of things this day in music history that we wanted to bring up. There's, again, dozens on this fucking website just for today. And there was some really cool shit the day that you and I discussed it. So I'll post a link to this in the show description and go check it out. And we'll do this every time we do a music topic.
Yeah, he's 73. Elton John's 73.
Yeah, he ain't getting any younger. Though he's no John Williams. But
there will never be another.
Indeed. So before we get into our main topic, we have some other business to attend to. Possibly the most important piece of business to get to.
Really?
Yeah, we've been talking all year about the Sidebar Cantina Fantasy Football.
Oh,
the Fantasy Football League that we started last year that a lot of our listeners partake in. You and I are part of it. Kristen is part of it. And then a bunch of the podcast listeners and people from the Facebook group. Last year, Keith Lehman won it, local guy. And this year, it was myself and Keith in the finals. And it was not even close. Like, I beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and last week you were kind of alluding to the fact that, I don't want to say anything yet, but I mean, you had a significant lead.
Yeah, he was down 100 points and had 2 people left, and they both needed to get like 50 points each,
right,
which
they weren't Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce.
Right. So, which I have Hill, who was one of the people that I rode to victory this year.
Right.
So, yeah, I am our fantasy football champion for the year. So I expect all of the accolades included in the championship?
Yeah, hang on. I got them right here for you. Letter somewhere.
Oh, I thought you were gonna.
No, it doesn't even deserve that.
Yeah.
Like, look, I said to everybody, the only problem with you winning the championship is how insufferable you are that when you fucking win.
No,
we ran into this in the squadron league that we.
Well, only because I was really mostly fucking with a couple of other people who were giving me shit. So I'm like, all right, motherfucker. So I just cranked up the troll level.
Right.
And it was mostly fucking snetty.
Insufferable.
Yeah. So, but no, it was a weird season.
Yeah, it was.
And props to Keith. You don't make it to the finals in a fantasy football league where people are actually trying 2 years in a row without being good at it.
Yeah.
You know,
for
so props to Keith. He just fell short this year, but making the championship 2 years in a row, it's pretty fucking good.
It's pretty good. He's still the first runner up.
Indeed. In fact, this was 3 or 4 days ago. I had just gotten home from work. I think I was still like half in my uniform. I'm kind of like starting to wind down from work. Kristen was home. I think she was getting ready to leave for work. And we heard a knock at the door. I'm like, what the fuck? Who the hell's at our house? I hear Kristen open the door because she answers it. I'm still in our room. And I immediately hear Keith's voice. I'm like, that's fucking Keith. So I walk out and he had for me this 6-pack of Fat Tire beers.
Nice.
You know, he basically said, congratulations. You know, here's some beer for winning.
See, Keith's doing it right.
He is.
That is one thoughtful motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I could be half as thoughtful as that dude.
Yeah. So thank you, Keith. Good game, sir.
Yes.
And look forward to next year when hopefully we have a normal NFL season.
Normal NFL season. We managed to get like all the games in somehow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was in the third place game and lost to our Canadian contingent.
Yeah.
And I was 2 points away. I mean, it was really close there at the end, and I fought and scrapped the entire thing. So I'm happy. I'm happy that I finished in contention for at least one of the top spots.
Yep. And I'll say for the last time, how's that C+ working out for you, Yahoo? Right. Fuck you.
Yep.
So, and you got a C too, right? So
I actually, according to the post thing that they send you, I started as a B in the draft, but then I proceeded to lose like 5 games in a row.
Right.
So I was like, yeah. Hey, look, it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to knocking you off of your post in the next year's fantasy football. Like you said,
we shall see
in a normal football year.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and somehow I doubt I'm gonna get fucking Aaron Rodgers, Hill, and fucking Cook on my fantasy team.
Well, listen, we had the draft strategies. Now that we've done it once with the 2 quarterback leagues, I mean, you look at what Tony Ferrari did in the draft. Like he went out there and went big early, which paid dividends.
Sure.
I mean, he finished in the top 3. So I think draft strategies, now that we've been through this once, I think they'll improve. And listen, I also, kudos obviously to the winner, to the victor go the spoils, but
thank you.
I want to make sure that the rest of the participants in the league, I mean, we had 12 people. Unfortunately, there was one no show.
Yeah.
Who kind of
Robert Gibson. Still don't know if he's alive.
Yeah,
haven't heard from him at all. But you're gonna lose your spot if you don't say something.
Because there's definitely people that want to participate. I love the level of participation, the shit talking, the people that didn't really know that much about fantasy that started last year. Vast improvements this year.
Yeah.
The Orange Jacket Men, the Summer Legends, my ass, our Fett, Bronco Fett, and the Jensen brother contingent.
Yes.
They played extremely well and were competitive the entire time, and it's fucking awesome, and I love it. I love being in a competitive league, even though there's really no skin in the game except for bragging rights.
Right. Which we still need to make a trophy.
We do.
Some kind of trophy.
We do. We need to do a lot of things.
We
have a lot.
It's like the motto of this podcast. We really need to do
we have these things, and then there's those things. And, we're good at certain things. I mean, at least I am. I'm good at I'm good at buying pops. That's really what I'm good at right now. That's another story.
Yep. So that being said, let's move into our weeks. For me, I have one last Christmas present that I didn't get to show off last week because of all of the issues with the mail and shit that we were having around Christmas time. This thing got lost in the mail for damn near a month, if you ask Kristen anyway.
Right.
So this was something that she was very proud of that she got for me. And it was lost in the mail. I think we got it the day after or 2 days after Christmas, some shit like that.
Right.
But she really wanted me to show this off on the show. So I'll let you take a look and see if you can figure out exactly what this is.
What?
It's a box too. You can open it up from the side.
So how the fuck?
So this is apparently somebody who does custom jobs.
Wow.
And what this is for the audio audience is this is The Mandalorian season 1, I think, on a VHS tape done in an old school like
Dude,
80s VHS
the fucking
tape.
The patina on the box. You're looking at it going like, did they make The Mandalorian in fucking 1986?
Yeah.
Dude, this is fantastic. Like, and then for the
Yeah, they did it in the CBS Fox logo. It's fully customized. Incredible. Very, very cool Mandalorian VHS tape. Yeah. Very, very well done, Kristen.
Yes,
So
excellent job. Holy shit.
yeah. Cool shit. This is gonna go on display in here somewhere.
Absolutely.
So that was the last of my Christmas spoils. If you follow us on YouTube or if you're in the Sidebar Cantina Facebook group, you probably saw last night myself and our good friend, Big Swede, Tactical Swede, Big Dick Nick, as we also call him, join me for a review of Cobra Kai Season 3.
Jason calls him that.
Yeah.
He's the only one that calls him that.
It's my pet name for him. But anyway, I digress. So, yeah, Cobra Kai Season 3 came out January 1st. I mentioned this briefly last week. I started watching it the evening of January 1st. I was done with the season by lunchtime on the 2nd. Great fucking show. And Nick and I did a review. We got together on YouTube last night. We did a review. I actually pushed it out as a bonus audio episode of the podcast.
Nice.
So that's out there. It was a lot of fun. If you don't watch Cobra Kai for whatever reason, first of all, you're wrong. Second of all, get caught up. Listen to that. It's the second best show on streaming right now after The Mandalorian, but
Nice.
It's close. It's very close,
Nice.
especially after this season 3. So
I did not watch you guys last night because I want to watch this.
Mhm.
I just have not gotten the opportunity to sit down and ingest any of it yet.
Yeah, understandable.
So I need to have that moment where my biggest problem with me with those shows like that is that when there is anxiety like built into the show, like drama,
which there is a lot in this.
I have I have a tough time with it. Like, so knowing, and I know that's in there, but it just have to catch me at the right moment where I can sit down and do that. Honestly, that's why I don't want to watch a lot of TV,
right?
For that very reason. But the beauty of this is, like you said, I can sit there and if I have a few hours, I can ingest as much as I can in a few hours, and then go the next few hours. And
it goes by quick. They're short episodes. They're half-an-hour episodes. And
that's perfect.
If you get rolling, like, you'll just want to keep going.
Nice.
I got to see what happens next, because like Nick and I said last night, they did a fantastic job. They did a better job than Star Wars did of bringing back the old cast while introducing you to a new cast, new storylines, while still giving you tons of fan service at the same time. All just super good quality.
Nice.
Yeah. Great shit. The NFL just finished the last week of the season. We're not going to get into too many details, but I have two teams that I am rooting for.
Okay.
For specific reasons. One, I would like to see the Packers make it all the way in the NFC because I rode Aaron Rodgers and his number one receiver to fantasy football victory. So I think they deserve my allegiance.
Yeah. And listen, it's not a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the number one seed. They fucking, Aaron Rodgers have an MVP season, as witnessed by your fantasy football production.
Yes.
But him and Devontae Adams, they're like, 18 touchdowns?
Oh, God. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah. It's so, yeah, I don't hate the Packers.
Yep. And really, the reality is anybody but fucking Seattle.
Right.
Like if what's his name? They're fucking Russell Wilson.
Right.
If he died tonight, I wouldn't be upset in the least. Not that I wish death on the guy, but I would not be heartbroken whatsoever.
So I am I'm not a 49ers fan, so I don't have the Seahawks hate.
Yeah.
Necessarily. That's like for me and a Cowboy, forget it. When Dak Prescott fucking snapped it, I celebrated the moment. But I really don't like Pete Carroll. I really don't.
Oh yeah, he's a cock.
I've hated him since USC, since a particular Rose Bowl and with Penn State and USC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Pete Carroll is a shitbag, and he shouldn't get nearly as much credit as he does.
Yeah.
For what goes on in that team. I think Russell Wilson is a perfectly nice human being.
Oh yeah,
and I wish nothing but the best for him. But Pete Carroll can go fall on an age tree and die.
Right. And honestly, if Russell Wilson was on any other team in the league, yeah, I'd be like, that's a solid dude.
Yeah.
But because he's on fucking Seattle, fuck anybody associated with that franchise, they can all suck a dick.
Suck a dick, suck a dick.
Yes.
Suck a dick.
Oh, in the AFC, I'm cheering for the Bills because the Bills are my brother's team. And like, honestly, they haven't really had a run in a long fucking time.
We need to rewind the tape, because I'm pretty sure that I picked the Bills to not only win the division,
but to win the AFC.
I don't know if I picked them to win the AFC, because the Chiefs are a tough get.
Yeah, fuck.
But I love the resurgence in the Bills.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
I love the blue collar aspect of the team. Josh Allen is a great quarterback. I like everything that's going on in Buffalo. Nothing but the best for him. But I'm still going to root for Andy Reid just because. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact that it's not the fucking Patriots, the fact that the fucking Patriots are not even part of the goddamn conversation, just warms the cockles of my heart.
But Brady is still part of the conversation, which, by the way, Brady won the first round of Brady versus Belichick post breakup.
Yeah, and
so
as he should, because that's I personally I think the marriage of Belichick to Brady is what gave them that success. And for Belichick to be so dismissive of it, to think that, I'll take whoever comes in there. I think Belichick, he's a victim of his own fucking success at that point.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Like some other head coaches around here that.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we get too deep into the weeds, that's my week. What about you?
So talk about the NFL. And I've been goaded into basically talking about at least a little bit of the fucking Eagles game, because honestly, that's been the biggest part of my week thus far. I'm going to caveat this by saying, tune in on Thursday to what is it? Big Swede's Excellent Adventure, I think is what the channel is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Big Swede and I, both Eagles fans, I got a lot to say. Got a lot to say about the season, about the staff, and everything else.
And I look forward to hearing it.
It's going to be an expletive-filled just bucket of fuckery.
Yes,
that I'll definitely, hopefully, will purge me of all this hate. But I will say this: last night's game, to anybody that. There's a lot of people that are either defending the decision to, like, okay, you've got Eagles fans that are defending the decision. Well, people sit players all the time, blah, 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 blah. And then you got, the Giants fans and everybody else that are so pissed off that the fucking Eagles didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
None of that's the argument. I think what the argument has to be, if you're an Eagles fan, is why did Doug Peterson feel like he had to get his third stringer into the game? Like the best comparison I can make to that is, hey, it's senior day and Nate Sudfeld is going to graduate and he's not going to play football anymore. So here you go. Here's some time.
Right.
That's what it boiled down to. The bullshit that came out of fucking Roseman and Peterson's mouth today, because ordinarily I don't watch the post-game bullshit or whatever, because it's all a bunch of lip service. But after the end of the season, I really want to, and the way they ended the season, it's like, I want you to look me in the face and lie to me. If you want to fuck me, at least give me the courtesy of the fucking looking me in the face.
Right.
So I'm watching it, and it's what the fuck was that?
Went way in the wrong direction.
He's full of shit. I mean, Doug Peterson as a head coach is full of shit. He is a victim of like, hey, yes, you won a Super Bowl in 2017. Awesome. It was the best day ever. Again, listen to what we're going to talk about on Thursday as far as the Eagles franchise and everything else goes. But don't fucking sit there and say that you planned on winning that football game with your third string quarterback, because it's not the case. And we will go into the nitty gritty details of that here in a few days. And I don't want to belabor that on this, an MTV Gen X fucking podcast.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, I really wanted the Eagles to win that game because I wanted the division winner to be a 6-10 team from that fucking shit division. How great would that have been?
It's still a shit division. Washington's going to get their ass handed to them. They're not a good football team.
Oh, I know. They're
not a good football team. Alex Smith, as soon as he had any pressure, fucking was shitting his pants.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's really, really brittle.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you get a fucking injury that almost kills you.
This is true.
Yeah.
Any kind of pressure, Alex Smith's going to fold like a cheap suit. And
but anyway, let's move on from the NFL.
Let's go from the NFL to fantasy hockey. So we're transitioning those of us in the Sidebar Cantina that we're kind of into it. We're into the fantasy football bit. We're like, hey, you know what? I need something else to get up about, right? We're still in a fucking pandemic. We're still restricted. We can't watch our sports teams and everything else. Give me a reason to fucking watch sports or have something to watch. Because guess what? Mandalorian's fucking over. Cobra Kai season 3.
It's over, yeah.
Once I get caught up to that, there's not going to be something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's already over for me.
Yeah, so what the fuck? So getting into hockey some small way and having some fun with it. So again, same concepts apply, right? There's no skin in the game. We have, as of yesterday, there was 9 people signed up. So we need one more. So if you're interested, find us on Facebook, the Sidebar Cantina, get logged in and let us know that you want to get into the league. And you will do it. Do it. The draft is January 10th is the draft. And oh my God, so much texting. Oh my God. I think it'll be fun. And honestly, if we don't get a 10th person, you're gonna have to make a team, whether you like it or not.
All right.
Those are the rules.
I'll do it the woman way. I'll draft whoever has the best looking uniforms.
There you go. Perfect. I love everything you just said. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's for nothing else and some shit talking. We've got our hockey expert is participating in the league. So
Tony Ferrari?
Tony Ferrari is going to be the guy to fucking beat because he knows all
he does a podcast about hockey, doesn't he?
But see, here's the thing, and here's what's fun about fantasy football to some level. Sometimes you don't need to be the most knowledgeable person. Sometimes you just need to be a little bit lucky.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're going to hope for that. And if Tony wins the league, nobody's going to be fucking shocked, right? Right. He is our Canadian. He is the hockey expert. He does do a podcast on it.
But if somebody can beat him, it's like the Rocky moment.
That's right. We're gunning for him. We are gunning for him. I'm looking forward to that. And listen, I was so pissed last night. I was so pissed at that fucking game last night.
I'm getting called out for my sexism in the chat.
So, what, Jason? Oh my good Lord!
I don't know where anybody would get the idea that I had a single sexist bone in my body.
Not Jason. No, God, you must be mistaken.
Yes. I think women are so great. Every guy should have 2 or 3 of them. You know, that's how great women are.
Oh my God. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not doing it. I'm not biting into that. What I was going to say was I was so pissed off last night at watching a fucking Eagles game. I'm pissed off as much at myself for letting myself get emotionally involved in it. Because let's face it, anything that we do, like watching sports or anything else, it's something to be entertained. It's entertainment.
Sure.
It's something that like I want to put some positive energy towards. I want to feel like I'm involved in something that's bigger than myself, and be able to root for teams and do shit like that. It's part of the psychology of sports, right?
Yeah.
But God damn it, I get fucking being a Philadelphia fan, I guess. I just was brought into this existence of being so vehemently against my rivals and being so vehemently for my teams.
That's just the culture out here.
It's I got sucked in last night. I got sucked into this fucking game, and I'm really, really trying hard to not do that, because the emotions of a day like that, like where I'm pissed off till fucking midnight watching this game, and then I can't sleep because I'm all fucking worked up and I'm watching press conferences and bullshit like that. It takes me a whole nother day to fucking recover from that. So I put in here my stoic thought of the day, right? There's I have the daily stoic book that I look at.
Yeah. Some good shit from that.
I really there's a lot of really good stuff in there. And today's was the I won't give you whatever from Marcus Aurelius, but the breakdown was about controlling your perceptions, direct your actions properly, and be willing to accept what's outside of your control. That's the hardest part.
Right.
The willingness to accept, because I have control issues, as my wife and everyone who's ever known me will tell you. I have control issues, and accepting that those things are outside of my control is very, very difficult. So I'm not a New Year's resolution guy. I don't.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit.
It's if it works for some people, I think, but not necessarily for me. I just don't do that. But this in particular, I started working on it post-COVID. It was kind of one of those things where I really need to, embrace this idea that these things that are outside of my control, I really can't let that dominate like my emotional life.
Yeah.
Except for sports, because it's going to happen. I just
Right.
can't fucking help it. But if I can limit it to just sports,
Right.
I think I'll be okay.
Let go of everything else.
Right. Let go. I'm done.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
I don't know. I have OG, if he's in the chat, our Bulgarian brother from Other Mothers. He's not here to critique my week, but
all right. Fair enough.
Tune in Thursday.
Yes. Oh, I will be there.
Yes.
And I will be sure to be as trolly in the chat as I can
As
be.
you should be.
And just see how much I can get you riled up. So I'm really looking forward to it.
It's not going to take much, dude. I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to do it now. You brought it up in the fucking pre-show, and I'm like, I was already ready to go on a fucking 2-hour tirade. So,
All right. So let's go on a 2-hour tirade about something else. Let's talk about MTV.
I want my MTV.
I was waiting for that. So yeah, MTV Music Television launched August 1st of 1981. So this year is the 40th anniversary of the launch of MTV, which is kind of crazy to think about, considering we're just a hair over 40 ourselves.
Yeah.
Just the look on your face is priceless.
This is the curse of being a Gen Xer right now, and seeing something like this so early on.
I want my MTV.
What the hell?
What is that?
What the fuck? Very unexpectedly joining us live in the studio, Big Swede, Tactical Swede, Big Dick Nick, as the ladies call him. What to what do we owe this honor?
Well, I had other stuff to do, but I was in the area, and
were you? Were you just randomly in Cherry Hill?
I was actually in Morristown.
Oh, okay.
So my kid had physical therapy today over in Morristown.
Well, shit.
James had my sunglasses since the last time I was here.
Right? Oh, right.
So I was like, "Hey, how close are you to Morristown?" And he's like, "Not very." And then he's like, "Well, we're doing the show. Cherry Hill's not too far from Morristown."
Cool.
All right. Well,
so it was a prisoner exchange. He gave me a Darth Maul pop.
Ooh.
One I did not have.
I had ordered that. Had to be like months ago now.
Yeah.
Been waiting. And today the package showed up, and I guess, as payment for waiting so long, Walmart sent me 3 of them instead of
what? Wow.
So Dave benefits.
Cheers.
Nice.
That's fantastic. And this is like I'm trying to determine.
That's like Clone Wars season 7.
Yeah, he's got the magic legs.
Magic legs,
magic
Lieutenant Dan.
Fun fact: I procured a pop today. I got a gritty pop today, just because I'm an idiot.
Dude,
I'm an idiot.
I'm fighting the urge to do it, but I'm probably gonna break down and get a Johnny Lawrence pop.
They have one?
Yes.
Oh.
They have a Johnny Lawrence and they've got a Daniel.
Nice.
Yeah, there's really good Transformers ones out there. There's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ones that are out there. There's so many fucking good ones. But I already have Philly Fanatic. I got the Reggie White one. I got a Carson Wentz one, which will probably be cheaper here real soon. And I was like, well, I need the gritty. I can just put the mascots on. I put Reggie White in the middle and put the Fanatic and everything. So with that, and then this one, the collection is now worth over $2,000, which is crazy.
Damn,
crazy to think about.
Yep.
Fun fact, folks, I did not put $2,000 into fucking it's like this. I have the value of the pop collection it far exceeded what I put into it, but yes.
Well, you won half of yours, so
I did.
On like $20 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Fucking great. That's the bulk of them are right there before you. So do you want to join us for the MTV discussion?
Oh, hang on.
Maybe not.
I'm getting yelled at? No, I'm not getting yelled at.
Like, are you on some show right now? Where's our son? He's fine. He's in the care of medical professionals. He'll be fine.
Well, I got a little bit of time. I can hang out. I don't like intrude.
No. We'll do this right. Let me get you a chair.
Yeah.
Hopefully, people will be able to hear you.
Yeah.
Same shirt you sat in last time.
Yeah. Don't lose your sunglasses.
Yeah, I'll leave my sunglasses on my head this time.
Sit a little close to Dave so you can kind of get picked up on some of his mic.
Snuggle up next to Dave.
Wow. Well, this was very unexpected
Share
because
some
Dave
COVID.
did not mention this at all to me. So
It's way more fun to see the reaction on your face.
yeah, no. So a very pleasant surprise. So again, welcome back to the studio, Nick. Good to have you here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had literally just started talking about MTV. We just finished up our weeks.
I was listening.
Oh,
I was
you were?
timing my entrance.
Perfect. I love it. So, all right. MTV, like we said, launched in 81, and it had an immediate impact on first the music industry, right? Because there was a bit from this Wikipedia article that I pulled that said MTV's effect was immediate in areas where the new music video channel was carried. Within 2 months, record stores in areas where MTV was available were selling music that local radio stations were not playing, such as Men at Work, and it had a bunch of other of these like 80s one-hit wonder type bands.
Right.
So it really increased music sales for a lot of these bands that didn't have the kind of exposure on the radio that they were getting on MTV because they embraced this music video style of presentation. And we can get into the whole debate about bands that kind of rejected that versus the ones that eventually embraced it and the success that they had because of it.
What bands were rejecting it though?
Think about like the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones were big at this point. They were already a very well-established band,
Right.
but they never did music videos. Like the first music video that was actually made for MTV that I remember seeing from the Stones was like in the 90s when they released a new album then, where they could have been making videos and everything, but they never really did. Something that I was going to bring up later were existing acts that I was exposed to much later on. One of them was Ozzy Osbourne. You know, I knew of Black Sabbath. I had heard Iron Man. I knew what that song was, but I didn't really have much exposure to Ozzy until No More Tears came out. So, and you know, he did music videos for that. He did the music video for Mama, I'm Coming Home, which was really the first Ozzy Osbourne song that I really knew. So, and then you even got like Metallica, right? Metallica was a very well-established band. They didn't do music videos until, you know, Injustice for All when they did the video for One. And then they really embraced it with fucking with the Black Album and Enter Sandman and all of that.
Well, one was the perfect one to do a music video for because it's based on a fucking like, okay, here's this story that was made into a movie that, all right, the story's already been, pictured, we get these images and you're able to meld it into kind of what's going on in the music video. It made sense. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the early stuff too was based on live shows. Like, so people were basically these recordings of live shows and they were putting that out as content.
Right.
Also, but not like, it's funny you say that because the stuff that I pulled off of YouTube for the early MTV, right, is like the commercial where it has the Columbia launching with the Apollo 11.
Oh yeah, because that was like their main, like their splash page basically, where every time they would start a new hour, it would be the fucking shuttle launch, and
it had even the MTV Music Awards and everything else where they embraced that with the spaceman with the fucking flag.
Yep,
with the MTV flag. But the idea that some cable providers didn't have MTV.
Well, sure, yeah, because again, we're talking 1981. So cable was not as prevalent as it is today. Well, actually, it's on the decline today, but. Yeah.
Don't have cable.
Yeah, you didn't have cable at all. So, all right. Well, since you are the guest of honor, when was the first time you remember watching MTV growing up?
My first experience really with MTV was I grew up in the sticks in PA with my grandparents,
right?
And did not have cable. We had like 4 channels. So my first real experience was. One summer I was visiting my mom down, I think they were either living in Virginia Beach or they were living down in Georgia. My stepdad was in the Navy, so they moved around a lot. So I was down there visiting them for the summer and they had cable and they had MTV.
Right.
And honestly, like, I don't know if this is just, something I made up in my head, but the first music video I can remember seeing, I don't know if it was the first one I ever saw, but the first one I remember seeing was Ozzy and Lita, Close My Eyes Forever.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
And like, that's the first video I remember seeing. And I was like, this is cool. Like you get all this music that, like, your radio stations, your local radio stations where you grow up, we didn't get all different kinds of music. We didn't get a lot of like metal. We got rock and kind of pop stuff, but we didn't get a lot of metal. So, I had to come to that through other sources. And like one of them was like seeing it on MTV. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. Let me look for more of this stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd go to record stores at that time and, go searching for these bands and then, start, buying the metal magazines and stuff like that and finding new bands that way. So that Ozzy and Lita, Close My Eyes Forever. That was the first one I remember.
I do remember that video too. Yeah. So
Lita was hot too.
Yeah. And you bring up an interesting point too with the radio, because where I came from in Bakersfield, California, big country music area. So 9 out of our 10 radio stations were fucking country stations. My mother was a huge country music fan. So whenever I was in the car with my mom driving, it was always on a country music station. So my exposure to rock and pop and all that was strictly due to MTV. Like I didn't get exposure to any of that stuff anywhere else until, I got older and I ended up getting my own radio in my teens. And there was the one rock station in town that I listened to. But yeah, most of my music exposure throughout the entire 80s and the early 90s was all straight through MTV.
That's pretty remarkable. Like the ends of the spectrum, right? You had very little terrestrial radio even up where you're at. Literally,
we had like the one station that came in really good up by us. It was, I think it was out of Scranton, but it was 98.5 WKRZ. And it was more of a popular music station. So like you got a mix of different things, but you didn't get, like I said, a ton of metal, or you didn't really get country, but you got a lot of kind of like like top 40 type stuff and the stuff that was popular. Yeah. Now there was a rock station up in Binghamton, New York, that if the weather was right, you were standing in the right place, you could get that to come in, and there you had a little bit more of like hard rock and metal, but it didn't always come in.
So. Right.
Dude, I was so fucking spoiled by living in a major metropolitan area.
Right. Yeah.
We had so much. We had like 3 different rock stations.
You had MMR your whole life.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. We kind of, I alluded to in the beginning of the show. We had WMMR. We had, at the time, YSP was still a rock station. We have like 3 different colleges were putting out like all kinds of different music that you could find anywhere on your radio dial. So there was nowhere that I was going to drive unless I started heading towards like the shore. They had their kind of their own music. You'd start getting away from MMR and YSP, but yeah, the music that I could hear over the radio was almost always how I heard music.
Right.
So MTV in the house I didn't really get a lot out of MTV, not until much later.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that like I had Garden State Cable, right? Like first cable company, which originated right around the corner from here, was a cable provider. And we had the fucking box with the with the
push buttons.
The push buttons. And I knew that MTV existed because there was 2 up from Nickelodeon. Right?
That's
so
right.
Nickelodeon was 33, MTV was 35.
I want to say Nickelodeon or MTV was 35 on mine too.
Isn't it
back in the day? Because it was that brown, that like wood paneled box that had the 12.
The first iteration of the Gerald box that had long ass cord on it. Yeah, and that was boom 35. And it was never like, it was just not something that was really on in the house. Like,
sure.
Excuse me. I get it so randomly that it was like, oh, let's see what this is going on. It wasn't until much later that I kind of appreciated what was on MTV. And a lot of it had to do with what we're going to talk about later with Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, yeah.
Why would I turn on MTV? It was mostly because of Beavis and Butthead.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and the way we're going to break this down, we're going to kind of go into 2 parts. First, we're going to talk about the music video aspect of it, the impact that it had on popular culture, on the music industry, videos that we remember, the strong memories, whatnot. And then we're going to get into that original programming. We're going to talk about the animated series, Beavis and Butthead, obviously, and a lot of other original programming, that some shit that I had forgotten about, and some people that had gotten their start on MTV, which nowadays you kind of take for granted. But it was people that got that initial exposure through MTV. So let's start with the video stuff, because we've already kind of touched on it a little bit. And I know you have some early memories and some favorite videos. So why don't you lay some of those on us?
So the first video that I can really say that like I sat there and was like, okay, this is the first music video that I saw, was the Take On Me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's right. Aha.
Yeah, because they played it so and at the time, because the video was considered groundbreaking the way it was filmed. You had that pencil drawing and everything.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of those things where I saw it as I was clicking through. It was on probably so much at the time that almost every time I had MTV on, I saw that video.
Yeah.
But it, like, from recollection from fucking 40 years ago, that's the one that I can say, like, oh yeah, that's the first one I remember seeing.
Mm.
Now, sniffing around on YouTube today, looking at some of the other videos, I think I've seen other ones that have, one in particular, the Dire Straits one.
Right. The Money for Nothing.
Money for Nothing. That's was joking with Jason in the pre-show. When you say the word MTV, that like clicks off something in my brain that starts to run that song. Mm. It's like, I want my MTV. And I can't help it. And the fucking
well, and you brought up an interesting point too with the Take On Me video, because that whole video, that 3.5 minutes or whatever, had a storyline, right? From start to finish, it followed a particular story. Whereas if you look at the earliest MTV videos, and it's just a lot of just bands kind of playing either on a stage or whatever. There's no story. But as you start getting into that one, like the Take On Me and some other stuff, these artists, and I don't know if it was the bands themselves or the directors of these videos, realized, oh, we can tell these small stories over the course of this 3.5 minute song. And it started taking on a life of its own, to where by the end of the 80s, very rarely would you see just a band on a stage playing. There was something else going on, some other greater story. And then in the 90s, they pushed it up to 11.
Even if it was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Even if it was absolutely ridiculous, then at least it had nothing to do with the song or anything else. It's like, look at what these guys are doing.
Right.
Case in point, my favorite of all time is Sabotage.
Oh yeah.
That fucking video, every time I watch it, I'll watch the entire way through because it's doing that Starsky and Hutch fucking cars jumping over like with ridiculous mustaches and fucking suits and cops and doing shit. And nothing to do with the fucking song whatsoever.
Right.
But the perfect backdrop to like I equate those two things so naturally, even though they have nothing to do with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll get that with a lot of these music videos too. The video really has nothing to do with like the song and the lyrics that are going on in the song. But for me, two videos that really were some of my first early memories of videos and also did tell that story were a couple of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers videos. The first one was You Got Lucky. I don't know if you guys remember that song or video, but it was sort of in like a Mad Max style of setting where it's, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are like these fucking rugged guys traveling through the wastelands, and they come across this fucking old sound studio that had like recording equipment, musical instruments, and they end up playing them and everything. But more than that,
it sounds like a bad porn, doesn't it? Like it's like
little bit.
Any one of these could be like the plot of a porn,
right? But that is probably my oldest video memory is of that particular song and video, the You Got Lucky by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. But fast forward a little bit to Don't Come Around Here No More, the video for that, where you've got the whole Alice in Wonderland theme, where you got that pretty hot blonde in that, and Tom Petty is basically the Mad Hatter, and it's going through all kinds of crazy fucking visuals. It's like, this is probably something that they dropped acid and they're like, fuck, let's do this.
That was,
Now
that you've said that, I had to get that visualization in my mind. Tom Petty, when he passed, I think he looked exactly the same as he did in that video.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, that guy was pretty much ageless from the 80s to the.
He aged prematurely, or was just didn't age at all by the time he got to.
Yeah, well, I think it was both. I think he aged prematurely, and then starting from the 80s, he didn't age anymore till the day he died.
He did the what's his nuts from Rolling Stone. What? Oh fuck. Who's the fucking the immortal guy from
Mick Jagger?
Not Mick Jagger. The fucking
the guitar player.
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards, yeah. Kind of took a little bit of what Keith Richards was doing and just maybe took it off of 11 and dialed it down to 8.
So that goes back to another Dennis Leary bit, right? So he was talking about Keith Richards, and he saw in an interview, Keith Richards said that kids should not do drugs. Keith Richards said that kids should not do drugs. Keith, we can't do any more drugs because you already fucking did them all, So, and he's still fucking alive. Yeah. How is that even possible?
Looks like he's made of leather, but he's still alive.
Yeah, modern science, man. Well, it's funny you say that because I'm sure at some point in the show we'll talk about concert going and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I saw Steven Tyler like as close as you are, like here. I was in the pit and he was standing like right there. Him and the guitar player. I can't think of name.
Joe Perry.
Yes, thank you. They're like fucking going ballistic, right? And there's like just like throngs of people just trying to push, and I'm the guy. I'm like the fence, right? And they're right here, and like I reach out and touch his leg like this, and I'm like looking at him, and he's short. He's small.
Joe Perry or
both of them?
Wow,
both of them are like you imagine. He's like that. That was the first moment in my life because you see him on the music videos. You've seen him in concert and shit like that. Like these larger than life people, right?
Yeah.
The fucker was tiny. And he looked so old. He looked so old. It was ridiculous. This was like early 2000. The motherfucker looked like leather saddlebags.
Steven Tyler, he had the piece of cloth or the scarf on his mic stand. Right. So maybe that was like a trick to make him look bigger.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I bet he had platform shoes on too or some shit like that. Because
probably.
I mean, literally, as I stand here like this, the dude was this tall.
Holy shit.
Legit, this tall. Like
wow.
I'm looking at him like this. If there's video of it somewhere on in a planet, you see my goofy ass standing with a Phillies hat on, looking at this dude like, what the fuck? Yeah. Best part of that story is that we were there with my wife and her sister and her ex-husband, and they fucked off and went to the bathroom.
Oh, right. When you had that face-to-face?
This concert, right? It was at the Core States at the time, right? The new Wachovia, whatever the hell it's called. and our seats initially. This is sidebar, people drink. Our seats initially were like way up high, and Kathy doesn't do well with heights. So they're like, okay, let's go work her, see if we can get down.
Mm-hmm.
They bullshit their way all the way to the fucking pit, right? So and so when we're standing there heading towards the pit, like Lenny Kravitz was the opener. Like Lenny Kravitz goes walking by us, right? Normal size, not miniature like the fucking Aerosmith guys,
right?
And we get into the pit, and then like their music's playing and everything else, and it's like this horseshoe around. And the girls, they go to the bathroom, they fucking bloop, close that off. So that when they were playing, they were coming all the way around. Then they stepped into the pit, and that's where they were standing right next to me. So they missed the entire opportunity to fucking be that close to Steven Tyler.
What they didn't tell you is they were actually in Lenny Kravitz's dressing room.
Hey, whatever.
They didn't go to the bathroom.
If that was the case, they probably wouldn't have been so fucking upset. The fact that they were like, "Oh, we missed it. Darn, that sucks." So, honestly, my sister-in-law's ex-husband was probably the most worked up. He was like worked up like a 16-year-old girl at a Jonas Brothers show. It was like by them standing there.
Wow.
Like, dude, calm the fuck down. Like, what is wrong with you?
Be civil. So I want to take a step back real quick. So before we start getting too deep into personal videos that we loved and everything else, just want to talk about the changes that MTV made, even just in the early to mid 80s, drastically changed the music industry as far as music sales, exposing different people who may not have gotten a lot of airplay. And MTV created some pretty big stars. If it wasn't for MTV, people like, I don't know, Michael Jackson probably would not have had the career that they had. I mean, granted, Michael had great vocalist and everything, but a good portion of his success came from those video presentations. You know, he was just one of the brothers from the Jackson 5 before, but it wasn't until he did, you know, Billie Jean and then Beat It, Bad, that's when he really started to get that recognition. And I think a good portion of that was created through this new vehicle that they had access to, and that was MTV.
And you wonder the actual show itself, right? Going to see the show, if that just developed into like, hey, people are used to seeing these people performing in this, like the show, this dance number,
right?
You know, that's all this pyrotechnics and everything else, because that's what they see in the music videos. You go to the concert, that's the expectation.
Sure, yeah.
Right? It's like, hey, I expect to come here and see a show. Like U2 is like that. You know, U2 always had especially like the Zooropa fucking album that had come out, there was like really funky shit going on.
Yeah.
And you go to the show and you get the same experience.
Which, by the way, I loved the music video for Numb
that
came from that Zooropa album.
Yeah.
But I digress. Another huge star created by MTV, in my opinion, at least, Madonna. You know, without MTV, Madonna would not have been nearly as huge as she was.
Right.
And you think about what she did with the videos. You know, it started off with Like a Virgin, a couple of those other ones, but then when you start getting into like a Prayer and some of the late 80s shit, Vogue, yeah, she just fucking blew up. And all of that was through MTV, through the music video presentation.
And not just musicians, but just like television personalities, hosts on MTV. You know, like people like Carmen Electra and, you know,
Jenny McCarthy. Yeah, so I have a list. So it's funny you brought that up, because some people who really owe their rise to fame to MTV are people like Dennis Leary, who I mentioned. Do you remember when Dennis Leary would do those little monologues, those like 2-minute monologues in between like music video sets and everything? You had Jon Stewart from the Daily Show fame. He had his own show on MTV in the early 90s, and he did some other hosting gigs on MTV long before he was ever known as Jon Stewart from the Daily Show. Jenny McCarthy, like we talked about. Cindy Crawford. You remember when she was doing shit on MTV all the time? That was my first exposure to Cindy Crawford. Oh, yeah. So a lot of people.
Carson Daly.
Well, if you're talking about people that owe their rise to MTV,
that is true. He does. I just don't care for him whatsoever.
I'm not a big fan of his, but like he was nobody, and then he was popular because
that is factually correct. So I do not dispute this point that you're making.
The motherfucker's still making money.
Who's God? I can't think of the names for the MTV News.
Kurt Loder
and Tabitha
Soren.
Yeah. It's like
still got it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. You know, like once an hour or so.
Yeah.
During the music video hours, you'd get the MTV news bulletin, right? Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
with the fucking typewriter
Yep.
typing out news. I'm Kurt Loder with MTV News.
That's one of those VJs or people that were involved in MTV that person is only going to be known for that.
Yeah.
Like Downtown Julie Brown was something we were talking about before.
Well, yeah, you had the two Julie Browns, right? You had Downtown Julie Brown, and then you had the redhead Julie Brown.
I don't remember.
From Just Say Julie.
Don't remember.
Yeah, because they had two Julie Browns.
Remarkable,
yeah.
Given my propensity for redheads, but yeah, no.
Oh, wow, interesting.
Don't remember. I will add that to the list of things
just
that I must look up.
Google Just Say Julie.
Okay.
Because that was the show that she had.
All right.
That she hosted on MTV, where she mostly presented videos, and I think she did a couple of comedy skits mixed in there also. Okay. But yeah,
I probably recognize her if I saw her.
I'm sure you would.
Let me bring that up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, I know that.
Yeah.
That broad. Okay.
So yeah, we talked about
definitely a broad. Yep. I recall now. I didn't realize she had hair.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, you had all of the VJs. You had Martha Quinn. You had
Martha Quinn.
Yeah. Well, I would have liked to, but I was a little young at that point. Yeah, so many of the VJs. Fuck, I meant to compile a list of all of the 80s MTV VJs, but there's so many of them. Pauly Shore.
Right.
Remember the Pauly Shore fucking show?
Yeah.
So many people who had some variety of fame throughout the course of the 80s and 90s owe a lot of that to MTV and that exposure they got.
And Pauly Shore, that the fact that he actually he made movies. He was in Encino Man.
Mm-hmm.
All that,
Biodome.
Oh my God. This awful tripe of fucking of movies owed to the fact that, MTV was their vehicle to start it.
Yeah.
It was huge. Everything, it kind of, the industry rose and fall at that point in the fucking late 80s, early 90s, rose and fall what was going on MTV.
Yeah.
As far as getting the videos out there and everything else.
Yeah, and then the genres, the pushing of certain genres that we saw, especially as we got into the early 90s, when, it's first started off with kind of like the late 80s, early 90s rap and hip hop. And then
MTV Raps.
Yeah, because we could start talking about all the different shows, the specialty shows. MTV Raps was one of them. Headbangers Ball.
Headbangers Ball,
which was a great one. That was Ricky Rackman, right?
Ricky Rackman, yeah.
We had 120 Minutes, which came later. That was the alternative type music, hosted by Matt Pinfield, the guy who looked like a fucking cue ball. But what else was there?
Ricky Rackman's still on Sirius, isn't he?
Yeah, well,
so.
and somebody was saying in the chat too that a lot of these, Lunar Girl was saying in the chat that a lot of these old MTV VJs are now doing their own shows, either podcasts or Sirius XM shows.
Yeah, because we kind of started in the beginning as our generation, right? This Gen X crowd that our music catalog is so vast. We're the ones that are paying for the Sirius XM subscription, right? So we're the ones that oh wow, I recognize that voice, and we're going to be drawn to that.
Yep.
Because hey, it's a familiarity thing. Do you really need fucking DJs on Sirius XM? No, you absolutely do not. But it's fun to hear some of that throwback.
Yeah, there's that recognition and the reminiscing with that person, that voice. So yeah. The different genres, right? So we were talking about the rap in the 80s and 90s, then the rise of grunge. Well, first you had the hair
metal,
the hair metal, hair rock, your Poison, your Motley Crue, Cinderella. One of the most recognizable videos in the history of MTV, fucking Here I Go Again by Whitesnake? Fucking Tawny, Tawny Katane, fucking dancing on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
So you had that whole era, and then that graduated into grunge, which so many people, by the way, from the big hair rock genre are so bitter about the fucking rise of grunge because it killed their genre of music.
Listen, the fact that grunge showed up probably saved a lot of the environment, because the amount of Aquanet that was fucking being sprayed at any given time, just completing the ozone. It's why things have gotten better, because all right, it's getting far away from this like all the school pictures of everyone that was trying to have that same hair,
Mm.
big Aquanet hair.
Yeah.
Because of fucking MTV.
Yeah, that is true. And then of course you get the rise of bands like Nirvana, fucking Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, all of this again. I was exposed to through MTV through the videos. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but for some other memorable videos, do you have any more that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, dude. I do.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw some out there. Some that I remember that
yours out there,
that really
going to get me in trouble.
That really jump out to me. Well, I saw your one category. In addition to the Tom Petty videos, one of my favorite videos from the early 80s was Patti Smith and Scandal, The Warrior. I don't know if you remember that song. I am the warrior. Yeah. Fucking. Well, yeah, it's because it's another video that had like a weird kind of. It was almost like an Andrew Lloyd Webber crossed with fucking Cirque du Soleil type of fucking video presentation with her fighting some other dude who's like a character from fucking Cats or something. It was crazy, but I loved the fucking song. I thought the video was awesome. And again, this is back in 1984.
Okay.
So that was a real memorable one. All of the Wham stuff. So I go back and I think about the Wham songs. You remember that scene in Austin Powers where he's getting caught up on everything and he's talking to what's her name and he's like, and I can't believe Liberace was gay. I mean, women loved him. That's what I think about when I go back and I think about Wham and George Michael and the Wake Me Up Before You Go video. He's dancing around in the fucking the halter top fucking sweats, and I'm like, no idea he was gay back then.
How did we not?
No, how is this not telegraphed for us?
Yeah.
Well, the fucking makeup. If you look at that I Want My MTV kind of intro, look at some of the people that are on there.
Oh,
you
yeah.
had Cyndi Lauper, and then you had a series of dudes that looked like Cyndi Lauper. Like that was what they were going for.
Well, that's go back to fucking Chappelle Show when Charlie Murphy's telling the story about Prince.
Yeah.
It was that androgynous shit was going on where
right.
the more you look like a bitch, the more women you got, you know?
Game blouses.
And Prince, Prince and all of his fucking videos in the 80s. Holy shit, I was all in on Prince. I fucking loved Prince, starting with the 1999 album, going into fucking Purple Rain, and even some of the shit he did after that. I loved Prince, and he really embraced the music video aspect.
Yeah.
So
it was the show. Like he was all about like that aspect of the show.
Yeah, to go along kind of with Michael Jackson, you know, they were all about the flash and the presentation. You know, it was the music was good. Don't get me wrong, but it was the greater presentation.
Right.
That
well,
was.
You talk about it. I'm sure you're going to bring it up because you're wearing a GNR kind of Master Universe Yasha. November Rain
was great.
Like, fucking the longest goddamn music video ever put out ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's longer than Thriller, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But it's that idea of all right, here's GNR at their fucking GNRist.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is they're at their best. You got the piano playing and slashed out there in the fucking rain and all that shit. There's just this is an amazing tribute to this art of the music video.
Yeah.
Because the song.
That scene where leading up to one of the guitar solos,
right?
Where Slash is walking out of the church and it's like the desert and the wind's blowing and shit, his shirt's blowing up, and then he just walks out there and he starts doing his Slash thing.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. Dude, November Rain is probably one of the top videos for that. It's like here's the show. Here's this music video that's going to make them. This is making them the show.
Yeah, and that was kind of the pinnacle of their music videos because they were sort of ramping up to that. Guns N' Roses were as they were getting closer and closer. You had "Don't Cry" right before that, which you could start to see signs of what they were about to do in November Rain, and then November Rain was that fucking pinnacle, and they've never really reached that again after that. No. That was their peak as a presentation.
Well, and let's face it, I think an argument can be made. We're going to talk about how in the 2000s, I don't think any of us really were paying attention to MTV anymore, but like that might have been the pinnacle of music videos in general.
That's true.
Just from that perspective of like, here's a big name artist, like doing this huge production, like movie level production to do a music video. Like where have we seen that since? I don't even know when did that video come out?
I want to say 93-ish. is about when that one came out.
Kelly's giving us some Luna Girl is giving us some insight into Big Swede and how he was exposed to videos.
Because like I said, we didn't have MTV, so it was always either going somewhere, like visiting somebody's house that had it, or like we had these dances at school, like once or twice a year. The Coca-Cola video dance, and like they had this big, huge video screen, and they would actually play the music videos that they would play on MTV.
Oh, no shit.
And so that's where we got a lot of our music video, exposure.
Interesting.
We had dances at school, but it was like a DJ playing, current songs.
We had our normal dances, but then once or twice a year they had one of these the Coca-Cola dances.
Oh shit. How else are you going to try to like get close to girls?
Yeah.
I didn't.
You'd go there, and then you'd like stand against one wall.
Yeah, the girls would be over there, and
the nerds I associated with, and we wanted nothing to do with those dances. I went to my 5th grade dance. That was the first dance I think I went to.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was
it.
That was a huge social thing for me and my group. But we talked about this a lot when we talked about. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. We can double bang this one.
Wrong sign. This is the wrong.
Look here.
Look here, I have to be. No. Okay, before we take our break, though, just want to talk a little bit about Van Halen, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about this when we talked about Van Halen after Eddie died and everything. David Lee Roth really embraced the whole music videos in the early 80s, and you saw that because he was credited as like a producer and possibly director of the Panama and the Jump videos leading into the Hot for Teacher. I talked about this, but on MTV, before the premiere of Hot for Teacher, they made this like a big event on the channel. It was like, be sure to tune in Friday night at 8 p.m. It's the world premiere of the Van Halen Hot for Teacher video. And it was like a fucking half-hour special where they were doing interviews with the band. They'd show the scenes from their previous videos. I remember a clip. I very distinctly remember a certain clip of David Lee Roth, of them doing an interview with David Lee Roth and him saying some super racist shit. I'm like, thinking back on it, because I know exactly what he said. I'm not going to repeat it here. I'm like, wow.
That must be pretty bad if we're not going to repeat it on this podcast.
Yeah. I'm just like, holy fuck. I can't believe he actually said that. Because David Lee Roth, if you listen to his interviews, he talks about his upbringing in the school he went to and how it was predominantly minority.
Right.
You can just see where it's going from there.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it was this big ordeal. Like the world premiere of these certain music videos was like a big event on MTV.
Yeah, I don't remember that one in particular. Hot for Teacher is definitely one of my favorite all-time videos.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorite all-time songs. But I do remember that for other fucking musicians. Billy Joel. Like, I remember specifically the release of what fucking album was that? It was like a more popish album that he did, like had a In the Middle of Night.
Was that the same one that had We Didn't Start the Fire?
I think it is. I think it is that same album.
Yeah,
I remember there being a premiere for the We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah.
And it was all over the fucking place. Hey, tune in and blah 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 blah. And then go into MTV News for some other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that being a thing.
Which, oh, by the way, speaking of Billy Joel and MTV, his early 80s videos with Christy Brinkley, his wife at the time, Uptown Girl, and what was the other fucking song? Fuck. There were 2 songs that he had that she was in the video for. Uptown Girl was one of them. Fuck. It'll come to me.
Uptown Girl to not play in my head right now.
I know, right?
Hang on. We got to let that go to the end.
Yeah, we'll run that to completion. Yes. But in the meantime, we needed to take a very quick break before we continue on with this episode because honestly, right before Nick walked in, I was about ready to throw up the sign. And then he walked in. I'm like, all right, let's keep going until we have a good stopping point. So that being said, we will be right back after this very quick word from our sponsors.
Oh,
yeah. All right. Note the time.
Do you mind?
Do I mind? Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. 126.
Entertain people.
You might have to tune it. I've noticed that the temperature really affects the tuning. I can get my my app out if you want to tune it real quick.
I usually do by ear.
Oh, fair enough. He's that good, folks.
Riveting.
It's a break.
Oh my dear God.
My turn.
You gonna tune it for him?
I told him to just use the app. He'd already be tuned, but he's got to be an elitist to do it by ear.
Oh man. How you doing on time?
It's usually about 2 hours. He started at 5, so.
Oh, that was great. I can't wait to look back on the YouTube, and I want to see his reaction when you come in.
Ooh, yeah. Something's off.
Was that hurt?
Yeah.
It's not so far off that I couldn't recognize it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just one of the strings is a little bit out. That would be the one right there.
Matter of trust. Yeah, good one, Dragon Buddy.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
Are we tuned yet? Oh, there we go.
I'm wondering, because of the temperature fluctuations out here, if you probably should keep that in my house more.
Yeah, we were talking about when you went out, like how I've noticed the temperature really does affect the tuning.
Temperature, humidity.
Yeah.
Humidity, honestly, is like a killer for guitars. Like,
Starts to delaminate.
yeah, it'll.
Really?
If you let them get too dry, like when I was living in Arizona, like I had to keep like humidity packs in my guitar case because
Holy shit.
they'll dry out and like the wood will start splitting and warping and yeah,
Oh, damn.
it's nasty.
Well, that's
So too much humidity or too little humidity will really mess with your guitar.
well, we don't have to deal with too little around here. It's
True. What you need is a guitar humidor.
yes.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk a little bit more about some music videos before we move on to the non-music video stuff.
Yeah, because we need to talk about some more sexy ones.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the things that I had. Like I saw your topic and I picked mine.
Okay.
So let me.
Actually, I don't know.
Oh, did you see this? I did not.
Oh, that thing is that is. When you first handed it to me, I'm like looking at it. I was like, Mandalorian. Is there some fucking secret thing? Like it is such a good fucking throwback.
That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
like he even did like the nicks in the fucking case and everything. He made it seem like an actual old school VHS tape.
yeah, like weathered, you know?
Yeah. The
crazy.
videos that the VHSs that Kathy found at Goodwill that she got for me, like that's what it reminded me of. Like with the case and everything else, because the CBS Fox logo.
Be kind, please rewind.
Yeah.
Fucking
love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good shit. All right, we ready to get back to it?
Yeah, you do queue up 30 seconds.
Yeah, let me just note the time.
Note the time.
All right, so we'll be back at 1:32 and yeah, cue it up. And we're back. We've got a lot more music videos to get to before we get to some of the original programming from MTV, because I really want to do a deep dive into that also. But we've only just scratched the surface of so many of the memorable music videos and artists that came out of this. Now, I know you had a few particulars that you wanted to bring up, either topics or specific videos.
I think it's sexy time. Listen, what I mentioned in the notes was some of our first, prepubescent TNA came from music videos.
Yes.
I mean, it would have been great to have been a child that grew up in with the Yo MTV Raps videos, because a lot of those rap videos had an excessive amount of just fucking ass, tits and ass.
Yeah.
I think I played earlier the video, not for the show, but when I was doing research, like the Sir Mix-a-Lot video.
Baby Got Back, which Sir Mix-a-Lot was not a one-hit wonder. He had plenty of hits before Baby Got Back. So if you call him a one-hit wonder, fuck you.
Jason's obviously got more to follow on that. We definitely have to. I mean, I only remember the one song, and it was pretty memorable. Yeah, but
I'm from the streets of Bakersfield, so we were exposed to early Sir Mix-a-Lot when he was underground.
When you were wearing your cowboy boots still.
No, that came afterwards.
To the country.
That was the early '90s. Sir Mix-a-Lot was the late '80s.
Okay,
get it right.
But no, there's some just some hot ass videos that are out there. And if you actually go into Google and be like, top sexiest fucking music videos, and there's a whole litany of things, like you'll find the Selena Gomez ones are out there. Some of them
right, but that's all like modern shit.
It is modern. It doesn't make it any less sexy, Jason.
Right, but I'm talking about from our upbringing, because I have one in particular that really got me going as a fucking puberty entrenched fucking teenager. Growing up in the 80s, 90s. And it was another George Michael joint, but it wasn't. No. Just hang on. George Michael did a video for Freedom, the song he did called Freedom.
Yeah.
And within that video were like 4 supermodels, Cindy Crawford being one of them. I think Heidi Klum was one of them.
Yep.
And they were all fucking pretty much naked.
Yes.
In this video. There was one where one of the chicks was in a bathtub and she was like barely covering her fucking tits.
Right.
And I honestly thought, like, in one certain part you could see a nipple. And
you can actually see them nipples.
But the George Michael video for Freedom, the sexiest video I had ever seen up to that point.
Well, I think you lost us at George Michael.
He was never in the video, though. That's the thing. It was only these fucking models lip syncing to that fucking song.
I can appreciate every bit of that, for sure. What was the fuck? I can't think of it. Like, I think the sexiest one was like it was some ballad. It's Chris something. It had like him. He was making out with this fucking supermodel on the beach, like the water.
Chris Isaac, Wicked Game.
Yes,
I hated that fucking song.
That song was horrible.
They played it so fucking much.
Well, all the women loved that fucking song. That was the dichotomy there. It's like dudes hated it. Women are like, oh, he's so sexy. And just. The fucking model that he was with on that beach was
fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
I lost track of the fucking name of the song of my favorite one. Nick, give us your sexiest one.
Man, so okay, I don't have like a ton of like MTV experience to pull from, but like one that kind of stands out was I want to say it was like early 90s. Aerosmith, Crazy.
Yes. So I was going to bring up the Aerosmith Alicia Silverstone trilogy of videos.
Yes.
Because it started off with Crying, and then it went to there were 3 videos. Amazing and then Crazy.
Yeah.
I love the Crazy video because that also had Liv Tyler in it.
Yes.
That was our
whole,
introduction to Liv.
Amateur night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy is I was looking for. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
But that was
of Alicia Silverstone and Liv Tyler.
Yeah. Which that was Alicia's 3rd video with them at that point.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure this was the first time any of us were introduced to Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
Which, it's this fucking hot, just tall, slender chick, but she kind of looks like Steven Tyler. So I don't know how to feel about this.
See, I never saw a resemblance there until she got.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Look, listen, George
Denial.
Michael.
Denial.
Listen, George Michael. Like, oh, he wasn't even in the videos. I'm pretty sure he was probably in his own music video. I'm just saying.
Jamie, pull that up.
Probably wearing a cod piece or something like that. But this, I don't know. Liv Tyler, like, my favorite sidebar, but my favorite Liv Tyler movie is when she was in That Thing You Do. You just That Thing You Do.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Loved it.
Fucking hot as shit in that movie, and it wasn't like she wasn't as hot as probably she was like aesthetically in the movie with the fucking meteor.
Armageddon.
Armageddon
With Ben Affleck. I love you.
Yes, she was pretty hot in that, but like Liv Tyler and That Thing You Do, I think that was
she was
the hottest woman on the
she
planet.
was hot in that like girl next door kind of way.
Yeah,
like,
and I just didn't, for whatever reason, I chose not to see Steven Tyler in that face at all, because I looked at her and go like, there's no way she's fucking related to him. Like, he dropped his seat in the appropriate person to make sure that it didn't look like him.
Yes. Dragon Buddy, Empire Records as well.
Yeah,
Empire Records.
Yeah,
yes,
she was.
Yeah, but yeah, for me, that's that crazy video. That Alicia Silverstone trilogy with crying when she's fucking escaping out of the fucking school.
Yep.
And the schoolgirl thing. One of the other videos, other deserving mentions, was the Britney Spears video.
One more time.
One more time.
Well,
where Jason and I we're talking about like, how old was she? Like,
she was like 16 or
these
something.
Girls in these videos, even Alicia Silverstone, I think at the time, they were young. They were young.
Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Fuck Britney. I was all about Christina.
Oh yeah, I was a big Christina fan.
Yeah. But we're jumping a little bit ahead in the timeline.
Christina could actually sing though. That was
exactly. Yeah, she actually had a good voice.
She was hot and she could sing.
So somebody I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you know this much about me, Dave, but growing up listening to music in the 80s and 90s, I really gravitated towards the rock, right? I became a huge Metallica fan after their One and Enter Sandman, and then I started listening to their back catalog, Guns N' Roses. I was huge on Guns N' Roses. But there was one artist that I gravitated towards that was not rock or anything. Somebody I was obsessed with for years that became huge on MTV from one of the videos that I saw of hers, and that was Mariah Carey.
Oh.
Long before she did Christmas albums or she thought she was a rapper, Mariah Carey did very she was like kind of the Celine Dion of her time, right? A lot of like love ballads, but she used that fucking amazing voice of hers and it won me over.
She was getting, like, she was competing at the time with, like, what was her name? Was Vanessa something. She was that Miss USA.
Oh, Vanessa Williams. Yeah.
And like they were competing for those love ballads against each other. And Mariah had her in the hotness category.
Oh,
they're both fucking hot.
Well,
Mariah had the pipes.
Yeah, and Mariah ended up being like the best-selling artist of the 90s. Like she sold more albums in the 90s than anybody. But again, we're talking like pre-Christmas, pre her wanting to be a rapper and getting into hip hop and working with Puff Daddy and all that stuff. When she was just doing a lot of love ballads, I was so fucking obsessed with Mariah Carey. I had a Mariah Carey poster on my fucking wall. Nice. I had every Mariah Carey CD, a lot of her fucking singles, which we haven't even talked about, like cassette singles, CD singles, and all that shit. That's gonna have to wait for another episode. But yeah, I was thoroughly obsessed with Mariah Carey. Every time a new video of hers debuted, I fucking like got my VCR ready. I'm like, okay, ready and record. That was a whole thing in and of itself, was actually getting to record some of these videos just as another way to hear music, to be able to like, okay, hey, it's on MTV. Let me try and fucking play, because they had a very repeatable cycle where they're like, okay, if you saw a video in that day, you knew at some point throughout the day it was going to come on again. And you catch it. Yeah, because the majority of their programming on MTV from at least early morning until the late afternoon, early evening was nothing but music videos. Yep. And they would do it in hour blocks. And sure enough, after that first hour block was complete, the most popular videos you'd see again on that next hour. Yeah. So, And that's an area too where you start getting into the overplaying of certain videos, right? Where a song catches on, it's like, oh yeah, this is great, and MTV plays it over and over and over again until you get fucking sick of it.
Right.
And there are a lot of great examples of that. Where,
dude, I got the perfect story for that.
All right.
This is so it's 2000, right? And I'm out in Bahrain for a thing, right? And we're out there for weeks in Bahrain. We're locked up in the hotel. It was not a good time to be in Bahrain. So we really didn't have any freedom of movement. I'm sitting in a hotel room, and there's only two things on that were worth watching, and then we're in English. Test match cricket, which I can tell you everything you need to know about test match cricket. Okay.
Okay.
Test match cricket. And oh, by the way, it took me fucking a solid 10 days to figure out what the fuck I was watching because there was no Google. We had no internet access. It was just fucking, here it is on TV. This is what you get. So test match cricket and MTV Europe. So MTV Europe, when it played in the Middle East, had a very like, okay, this is what we're going to play out of it. So it wasn't like the entirety of like if you were in, let's say, Great Britain, what you were seeing on MTV Europe you'd see like the entirety of what their program day was. In Bahrain, you saw basically an hour of what they saw. I saw that same hour every fucking day for almost a month.
Wow.
Over and over and over again. And the two videos, I can tell you right now, I know the words to these songs verbatim, can visualize the videos, is Nelly Furtado, I'm Like a Bird.
Oh, that fucking song.
Right? Over and over and over. It's like watching a JFK video back into the left.
I'm like a bird. I slowly fly away.
So it was Nelly Furtado and it was Gorillaz, the Clint Eastwood video.
Oh, yeah.
So,
or no, that was
like,
yeah.
And I'm happy. I'm feeling bad. I got sunshine. Like nonstop. And but I couldn't. There was nothing else to put on. I needed to hear something in English, or I was going to go fucking insane. And I could only watch so much fucking cricket.
Yeah,
like all of us have been overseas. We've been either deployed or whatever. And you know that like when you're at least on a base, like you get a little bit of AFN.
Yeah.
So kind of like what we were talking about with the cartoon episode with the Escape Pod guys and Brady. Like at least with AFN, it was repetitive, but you knew you could hear it in English.
Yeah,
not so much. Not in Bahrain in 2000. So that was empty. Like that was probably the last time I watched MTV. Was coming back from that trip and having heard those things over and over again. But I will say this: it was music videos. Like there was a handful of other ones that I couldn't tell you. Like, but those two in particular, they got played. They were being played a lot anyway because they were new. And then because they're only playing so much of it in MTV Europe, I was getting every hour getting the same rotation of these two videos. It was insane. It was like being in fucking survival school, dude.
Right. And at least to their credit, the Gorillaz, like their videos were actually very unique with the animation and everything else that they were doing at that time. You know, it
had a very anime type like style to it. And I liked the video, but when you've seen it over and over again,
right?
It's just,
and that's not far removed from what we got in the 80s and 90s when you would sit there and you'd have MTV on, especially during the summers for me, when my parents were both working and it was just me and my siblings fucking in the house during the summer. I just have MTV on. Like even if I was doing other shit, MTV would always be on in the fucking background. And you'd see the same videos get played over and over again every hour. But
right.
Yeah.
But it's like, and again, kind of relating it to the being deployed or being TDY, like at least if you're in a non-English speaking place, if they had the allowance, like you weren't in a Muslim country or someplace like that, where they would actually have MTV on, at least you could have music going. Yeah. Like, again, this is before iPods. This is before the what'd you lose?
Well, my phone, first of all. I noticed Luna Girl sent me a text. I saw it on my iPad. I'm assuming my mic is out. That's
out. But yeah, what was nice about MTV Europe was a little bit, it lagged behind as far as the video programming on the for shows like that we're going to get into here real soon.
Fuck is my phone?
I don't know. Did you take it out with you when you took a piss?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do it live. Oh wait, no.
Are you thrown off because you don't have the Costanza wallet? So like
It's got to be
balance is off. Like you don't. Do I have something in my pocket? I don't know.
I always have my phone on me. I don't.
All right,
whatever. I don't care.
Gents, I hate to break up the party, but I gotta get going.
All right, man. Well, this was a very pleasant surprise.
Good to hang out.
And come do it again sometime when we can actually plan it, and we can pick a topic.
I kind of enjoyed the like.
I was very surprised. I will say that. But
cool.
That's what we're going for.
And again, follow Swede Studios and Big Swede's Excellent Adventure and all of the Swedes.
Swedes and Swede something Swede and.
Yeah, and tune in.
You gotta ask Brady all the other ones.
Tune in on Thursday.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. You've got to poke that bear.
Expletive.
Poke that bear as many times as you can because
we all know it's not going to take much.
If you enjoy a good Dave rant, and I know all of you do, must tune in Thursday. Probably about.
Yeah. What time?
Probably at 5.
5. Okay.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
I like it.
See.
Cool. So,
all right. Well, thanks, Nick. It's good seeing you, brother.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Drive safe.
I want my MTV.
Indeed, you
not
do.
Not anymore, though, because it's not.
It's not good anymore.
Yeah, fuck
so,
it now.
all right. That's a great segue, by the way, to the end for me. I know you mentioned you mentioned your that experience overseas being the last time you watched it. So
yeah,
for me, MTV was such a pivotal part of my life until about 98, 99 timeframe, when we saw the rise of the Britney Spears, the fucking Backstreet Boys, and the Total Request Live era of MTV. That was pretty much where it died for me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too how many people romanticize about TRL.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah,
it was the fucking worst.
The TRL. Okay. Speaking of rants, TRL was one of those things where like this is all these people think that this is what New York City is. Like I'm gonna go to fucking Times Square. I'm gonna get to be on TRL. It was a part of the whole fucking experience. When New York City can suck a giant bag of enormous fucking AIDS-filled dicks, and an entire generation of nitwits that all elevated New York City to even this one level higher platform. Because at the time, you didn't want to fucking a 16-year-old girl who's fucking. So, oh my God, I want to be on TRL. That girl better be fucking inside before it gets dark because New York City was not a fucking place to be.
Yeah, you would get raped into oblivion.
Yes, there was not a safe place. And Times Square was like no exception. It just New York was just not a good place to be. And it just romanticized this whole idea that like reliving the Sinatra song of like New York and just the bigness of Empire and the Empire City and also the bullshit. And it fucking drove me insane. I hated it. I hate it when I accidentally would turn it on. Yeah. It would piss me to fuck off.
Right. Because I can remember one time, I knew it was big, but in the middle of all of this Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and all of this fucking shit, like there was like one artist at the time who was video I actually still wanted to see. Right. And I remember tuning into TRL to try to catch that because again, this was all before the internet. Everything that we're talking about today is long before you could just go to fucking YouTube and just be like, I want to see George Michael's Freedom music video.
Yes.
And it would just be right there. Like you still had to fucking wait. Even in 1999 and 2000, you still had to fucking wait for it to come on to fucking MTV or wherever you were getting your videos to actually see it. And I tune into TRL and it's like 10 seconds of the music video underneath all of these fucking screaming girls. Like, I want to give a shout out to my girlfriend, Sarah, and over to Lisa and everybody else over in Detroit, Michigan. What's up? And it's like, why am I watching this? I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I already hate 99% of these fucking bands or groups or artists that are already, dominating these countdowns. Like, why do I want to fucking watch the screaming girls in Times Square?
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's not like we were like so old right? It's
No.
We weren't like these old fucking
No,
Clint
we were
Eastwood
still in our
types.
young 20s.
Yeah, we were still appreciating music, and music was still kind of defining who we were and defining our character. But there was such fucking just absolute tripe out there.
Yeah.
I hated the fucking boy band era. I hated the fucking what was it? The fucking New Kids on the Block. Like that shit.
I didn't like them back when they were big in the 80s.
My fucking butthole pucker up, just like, oh god. It just I just never got into it. But that's where MTV was like, this is where the money is, kids.
Yep.
And we're gonna push everything towards something like that.
And to me, that was the nail in the coffin. Was that era of MTV where it's like, all right, I think it's time to move on.
They were no longer trying to entertain us with a music video. They were trying to entertain us with everything else. And there was some good stuff, and I'm sure we're get ready to get into it.
Right. And that's the thing, because in the beginning it was all about the music videos, right? Just music videos all day, every fucking day. And MTV News wrapped in there every once in a while. The top 20 video countdown on the fucking weekend, and all that.
Then you had like when we're Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. You had some like pieces that were in there where they're doing interviews and things like that.
Yeah. But that was good. That was
show.
entertaining. It was the bands that you liked, the bands you wanted to see.
Exactly.
So
it was still radio on television.
Yes,
in my mind.
Exactly. Now, before we shift away from some of that, there were a couple of other shows that started to gain some notoriety in the 90s that I wanted to talk about that were still related to music and music videos before we get outside of that. Number one, the VMAs, the Video Music Awards.
Right.
Always a big ordeal where they award the best videos when, videos were still being made and shown on MTV. They eventually graduated into the MTV Movie Awards.
Right.
Which I don't know how much you remember from that when they first started in the early 90s, but you had the Oscars and they celebrated your Oscar caliber movies, right? The shit that as 16-year-olds, we didn't give a fuck about.
Nope.
So MTV went in the other direction, and they praised the movies that we were actually going to see in theaters. Your Jurassic Parks, your Pulp Fictions, your shit like that. So those first few years of the MTV Movie Awards were fucking phenomenal. But the thing that I wanted to talk about more than anything else was MTV Unplugged.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I do.
There were several artists that went on to MTV Unplugged, which the whole gist of it was, non-electric, we're going a cappella, raw instruments, whatever. Probably the most successful of all of those was Nirvana.
Absolutely.
I'd say, the Nirvana MTV Unplugged set, I own the album. I bought it as soon as it came out. Fucking one of the greatest pieces of work you'll ever listen to.
I contend that Nirvana, the reason Nirvana, I think, had a non-grunge following was because of something like MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
It enabled a slightly older generation to appreciate their musical ability.
Yeah.
When you take away all the fucking the over-the-top guitar work and everything else and just get solely down to like the lyrics, like because you could hear the lyrics and understand it, and you saw them as musicians.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. Who's the other? So I want to blurt out who I think the other one was.
Well, I know Eric Clapton was a big one.
That's the one I was going to say.
Eric Clapton was not cool, hip, or whatever for our generation. Let's be honest.
Right.
Like he was in Cream was the band he was in before he broke off on a solo career. But even that was all before our time.
Yeah.
Like Eric Clapton was not on our fucking radar in our generation until this time, when concurrently he did that song Tears in Heaven,
right,
that he wrote about his son, which is a fucking tragic story in itself. And then immediately did that MTV Unplugged session where he did that version of Tears in Heaven Unplugged. He did the acoustic version of Layla on there.
Yeah.
Great session. I have that album as well.
And that's I 100% agree. That opened up a musician that I would have never got into.
Yeah.
And I was a kid I listened to Billy Joel. I listened to Boston.
Yeah.
I like that genre I was in and around it, but never got to Clapton until the Unplugged. And that's how I want to hear Eric Clapton is in that mode, in that unplugged environment, in that acoustic environment.
And again, my girl, Mariah Carey, also did an unplugged version. That was where we got the Mariah Carey version of I'll Be There, the Jackson 5 song. she only performed that on her Unplugged. So anytime you hear Mariah Carey singing the I'll Be There song,
Right.
that was from that session. That's the only time she's ever did that. She never did a studio version of that.
Neat.
It was only from that MTV Unplugged.
They got a couple of really good ones in the chat.
Yeah.
STP, Stone Temple Pilots. So I think it was the same year they did the Unplugged. Then when they were on tour that year, they did part of their set was acoustic. So it did like an unplugged set.
Yeah.
I remember this was in the Spectrum, right?
Yep.
So if you're in the Philadelphia area at all, growing up in here, the Spectrum was the old stadium where the Flyers played. It's where they had all these. There was it's a amazing concert venue at the time. Some of the biggest acts you've ever heard of went through the Spectrum. So I was there and I got to see Stone Temple Pilots do a set there. Their regular show is amazing. And then they dropped all their acoustic shit came out of the ceiling.
Nice.
And it just lowered down. And then they did their fucking Unplugged set out of it. Fucking phenomenal.
Ooh.
Like if you weren't on board with STP at that point, and then you got to see them live do that shit, it was fucking great. And yeah,
somebody also mentioned Alice in Chains.
Yeah, Alice in Chains.
Rooster being the big song from them. That's the one that I remember more than any others. But that was my shit, man. That was on my regular playlist. Yeah, they come to snuff the rooster.
I was not an Alice in Chains fan.
No?
And there's a history behind that. It's like anything else with music. There's usually when you dislike something to a point, there's a rationale behind it, some life event or anything.
I can see that.
Alice in Chains was one of those for me.
All right, fair enough. Well, we'll have to dive into that someday.
We can dig into that at another time.
All right. Now, let's get into some original MTV programming, right? Outside of the music. Obviously, because they were MTV, they always incorporated music somehow into a lot of these original programs. But let's start with the animated stuff, right? Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
That's what we based our fucking logo on. It's if you grew up when we fucking grew up, at least a dozen fucking people that walked around at fucking school all day going,
yeah.
Or,
TP for my bunghole?
Yes. Beavis and Butthead were fucking huge at the time because they did something as tastes were shifting, right? And we were getting more into that grunge and the hard rock and the metal phase of the early 90s. You were looking back at all of these fucking 80s music videos and you're thinking, oh, what the fuck was I thinking,
Right.
When you see George Michael and Wham going, you put the boom boom into my heart. And you're like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
When back at the time, you're just like, oh, this is a music video.
You just put the boom boom into my heart.
Right.
Oh my God.
And that's what the real premise of Beavis and Butthead was. You got these moments where they would basically be critiquing old music videos.
Yeah.
And
new stuff too. It was, I think, as somebody who listened to like Pantera, for example, you don't see a Pantera video except for snippets of it that I caught in Beavis and Butthead. Like, oh wow, they had a video for that song. I had no idea because I had the album. But to see the video, you get this like you got Beavis and Butthead fucking going after it. And it was a great way to kind of get a little bit of something you might not otherwise see. And say, hey, wow, there is a video for that. Even though they're shitting on it in their Beavis and Butthead way, which is fucking great.
And then you had that interspersed with an actual story going on in each episode, which the one that I remember more than anything else was the gym teacher. Do you remember the one where the gym teacher is trying to get them to be tough, right? They're trying to wrestle, and he's like, "Kick me in the Jimmy, kick me."
Yes.
And he makes Butthead just like fucking kick him in the nuts a couple of times, and he's like, yeah, But there were just ridiculous fucking storylines going along with them watching old music videos, and it really resonated with our generation. I can't think of a single person from my entire fucking high school that didn't like Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, you had to
at that point.
Yeah, it was if you didn't, that was one of those things where if you didn't, if like you're walking around school like I don't know who Beavis and Butthead is, like you're going to get picked on.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get bullied because you are an outlier of like, well, A, you probably didn't have cable, and B, like everyone else, we're all going to laugh at you. It's like it's just the way it was going to be. So, no, we're going to laugh at you.
I didn't know you were familiar with that. We'll have to talk about that at another time.
Anyway, yeah, I know for me, like what I liked about Beavis and Butthead was the sophomore humor. Obviously, it was right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it was probably the first real time I started to do voices. With Beavis and Butthead,
right?
Because Beavis, easy. Yeah. Right. And then you can graduate like because it's Mike Judge, right? Mike Judge does all the voices. So when you get to Hank, or it wasn't Hank, then it was Mr. Anderson.
Yep. And
Mr. Anderson, stop whacking off of my tool shed. Right. I'm a veteran of 2 world wars. It's like that was probably my first. For whatever reason, those voices just came a little easier to me. So I was able to kind of mimic that, and it developed in a part of my personality.
Yeah.
A little bit more so than some other things. Help keep me from getting beat up quite as much.
Right.
When did Beavis and Butthead Do America come out?
That came out. I was already in the Air Force. I was already here on McGuire Air Force Base when that came out. So I want to say 97.
Okay.
But great fucking movie, by the way. Yeah, Bruce Willis and Demi Moore lending their voices.
Yeah.
The whole fucking desert sequence when they ate the mushrooms and the
psychedelics fucking sequence. Yeah. 97. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to say 97.
I knew it was later. It was at the tail end because honestly, Beavis and Butthead, we remember it as being like the staple of MTV, but it really didn't last that long. I think it was only like maybe 4 or 5 years.
I think it was only like 4.
And then I think it was syndicated after that point. I mean,
sure,
it was an MTV joint, so they could put it on whenever they wanted.
Right, and they could put it on any Viacom channel. And whatnot,
exactly.
But...
So it was something that still, even though the new stuff hadn't been out in a while, Beavis and Butthead Do America was like, okay, hey guys, all you that were fucking part of this fucking potty humor, like, I am the great cornholio. We made a movie for you. Enjoy it. Yeah. And we did. I think.
Oh, it was great.
I don't even know what
I saw it on opening weekend. I saw it at the Burlington Mall, the Regal cinemas at the Burlington Mall.
That's
the weekend that fucking came out.
Let me Jamie, bring up Beavis and Butthead Do America.
Jamie's bringing that up.
96.
Okay. Wow. So I had like just gotten to McGuire.
Yeah, December of 96 when it came out.
Yeah, because I got here in October of 96.
That makes sense.
Wow.
I think I saw it like because I left for basic training in January 97. So I think I saw it just before. Which is just
it's crazy to think about.
It was so fucking long ago, dude. Oh my god, it was so long ago.
But that's
fucking 25 years ago. 25 years ago this year.
We may have to do a whole episode just on the Beavis and Butthead movie.
How did this movie not make the list that I made earlier of the fucking movies of the anniversary list?
I don't know.
What the fuck, man?
So MTV was they had the success with Beavis and Butthead, and they really tried their hand at a bunch of other animated series. First of all, you had Daria, the spinoff from Beavis and Butthead, which, it had its enduring qualities. It resonated with a certain audience. And I think that lasted a good 3 or 4 years before it got canceled. And then they also did, do you remember The Head? The animated show with the guy with the big fucking head that had like psychic powers and other shit. This was, again, we're talking like early to mid 90s. When they were really trying to push a lot of this animated stuff. They had Beavis and Butthead, The Head, and The Max, which was based off of a popular comic book at the time.
Right.
So they were really trying to push the animated shit. And these were the big ones that happened during our days. Then they branched off into all kinds of other shit after that I really didn't fucking pay attention to. But these were the ones that happened during our time.
Okay. So, I think that those I'd have to see it.
Okay.
I'm sure if it wasn't something I went out there to watch though, not like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Because usually after Beavis and Butthead Aeon Flux would come on.
Aeon Flux, that was another one. Yeah.
And it was like, this is really fucking weird.
It
And
was.
I'm gonna watch it anyway because the girl's kind of hot. So I'm just, and then she eats like a fly or fucking just stabs people, and it's like, I don't understand this, but okay.
So one of the first original programming things that was outside of music that I remember from MTV was remote control. Do you remember the remote control game show? Remote control. Now he's got his own game show. Remote control.
God, I forgot all fucking about that.
Where it was the guy, they were in their fucking recliners. It was like 3 people and they'd be answering questions on a screen. Who was the
fucking host of that?
Oh, God. What was the guy's name? Jamie, pull that up. But yeah, it was the first game show, competitive show, whatever that was on MTV. And this was in like the mid 80s. So they were already trying their hand at other things outside of music videos. And I remember Colin Quinn was also on that. You know, Colin Quinn, who eventually got a job on SNL. He wasn't the main host guy, but he did these little side bits. He was sort of the Paul Schaefer of this show.
Yeah. Ken Ober.
Yes. Yep. Who we would see later on in a music video, on an actual music video in the 90s from Blues Traveler. Remember Blues Traveler?
Oh yeah.
They did the fucking
the Hook.
Well, the Hook was the one he was in, but the video they did before that was really popular was the Runaround, yeah, with the
Ken Ober
Wizard of Oz. That? No, he wasn't in that one. He was he was in Hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was a Blues Traveler guy.
Yeah.
I like Blues Traveler. Like that was, I went through a phase.
Yeah.
I went through a Blues Traveler phase. And
I can respect that.
Honestly, I went through a Dave Matthews phase too. Pretty heavily.
So yeah, Dave Matthews was never anybody I was into, but Kristen really was. Like if Dave Matthews was here right now, she'd be on the floor sucking his dick. So
that'd be awkward with us sitting here.
It would be, but she'd still do it. I guarantee you she'd still do it if Dave Matthews was here right now. But I digress.
Yeah, we could do a whole thing about Dave
sucking
Matthews.
Dave Matthews' dick.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm not entirely certain that in that particular time frame when I was seeing him twice a year, there was like 5 years in a row where I saw him twice a year.
Holy shit.
Like every time he came through Philly, I saw him.
Damn.
Yeah. So he did a summer show and then he'd do an outdoor show and an indoor show. So definitely. And I'm sure if Kristen went to any of those, we were probably there at the same time.
I know she had seen him a couple of times in those days. So
it was obsessive.
Crazy. So other non-music programming, I don't know if you remember a lot of these, but they would do a lot of these one-shot sort of docu show kind of things. One of them was Sex in the 90s. Do you remember this show?
I do.
It was, where they basically... They did interviews with like rock stars and celebrities, and they talked about, like the sexual culture in the 90s.
Right.
And this is important to me because between this and between the real world, which we're going to talk about, was really my first exposure to people with HIV and AIDS.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what it was like out here in the Northeast, but in like ultra conservative fucking Bakersfield, California, where you don't talk about any of this stuff, all it was known was HIV and AIDS, or it used to be the gay disease, but now like they're starting to give it to straight people. And if you get it, you're immediately going to die. Right. And that's it. That's how we talk about HIV and AIDS.
Well,
don't be gay, and
don't be gay, Sparky.
You're still probably going to get it anyway.
Don't be gay, Sparky.
Right. So, it was this thing where I had no real exposure to, people who had it or any even just like open discussions about it. It was very, at that time, sexuality and a lot of this shit was just not fucking talked about. There was no fucking internet, kids.
Right.
We didn't have infinite amounts of information at our fingertips. It was basically on our fucking parents and our teachers and our friends to kind of give us all of the information.
Our old ass teachers that had no fucking they taught sex ed like they was taught in the fucking 1920s.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you had really not getting much out of your parents at all because again, latchkey generation, folks. And so we were left to fucking, Playboy. It was Playboys and fucking whatever your friends could come up with. So whatever bullshit they've heard at some point in their life or another.
Yeah. So when MTV came out with this special, this Sex in the 90s thing, it was it was very eye-opening because it was this open, candid discussion about sexuality. And again, they went deep into things like STD and AIDS and HIV and all of this stuff. And they did interviews with people like women who had HIV, who were HIV positive, but they were still out there. You know, they were telling their stories and everything. And it was my first exposure to any of this shit.
I remember it being a thing. It really, I didn't have that kind of impact for me, but it went through the entire fucking decade.
Yeah.
Like it started in 91 and fucking finished up in 99.
Mm-hmm. One of the other real big things that came out of that documentary that I can still remember to this day was an interview they did with John Bon Jovi. He was on the set of the video for Blaze of Glory, which one of my favorite music. One of my favorite music videos of all time, one of my favorite songs of all time, one of my favorite albums of all time was that Young Guns 2 soundtrack that John Bon Jovi did by himself.
Right.
We could get into that. But anyway, it was on the set of that where they're interviewing him and he's talking about stuff and he's like, all right, this is not subtle. He's like, I want Michelle Pfeiffer just once. He's like, just Michelle, please. You and me one time. Because, you know, you think about where Michelle Pfeiffer was at that time. She was at the height of her fucking hotness.
Yeah.
She had just come off of playing Catwoman in Batman Returns. And yeah, she was the epitome of fucking gorgeous and just.
You know what's funny? That John, he could have pulled that. I'm sure he could.
Yeah.
Just by making that statement, he's like, hey, I'm just going to put that out there. And then some publicist fucking talks to somebody else. And
yeah, he's like, hey, you know, John Bon Jovi was talking about you. And then Michelle's like, boop, 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 boop. And she's like, you're going to be in LA next week? And he'll be like, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, I will be now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's Sex in the 90s. And then you combine that with The Real World.
Right.
So The Real World, which debuted in 92, the first reality show that I ever knew of.
Yeah.
And it's, most people say, based on the research that I've done, that this was the pioneer for the modern day reality shows. There were some other reality shows that came before it, but nothing like the current format.
Yeah, I would agree. The Real World was the kicker. It was the foundation.
Yeah,
for a lot of us, because the drama of those first seasons, like people were you couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah,
like even me for a minute, like, because this was like, you're talking about 92, 93. Like I'm a fucking junior or senior in high school.
Yeah,
you know. Trying to think that I know things about the world,
right?
And wanted to be, people are talking about the show, so I have to, again, so I don't get beat up,
right?
Pretend like I know what the fuck's going on.
And yeah, it's like, especially those first two seasons, because there was such a unique dynamic, because the first one took place in New York, right? They all had just like some loft apartment in New York where they put like, what was it, 7 people in one thing. And obviously they pick people from different backgrounds, different cultures.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, unfortunately, the Chappelle version of Real World affects my actual viewing of the Real World.
Right. Well, and SNL did a parody too. They did a parody of the second season, because the second season took place in California. And that's where they had the Irish guy in there. I'm from Dublin, you know, and they really played on that in SNL. But yeah, the first 2 seasons of the Real World, like, I absolutely loved both of those, watched them religiously. And even the third season, especially that third season, was where we got introduced to that character that actually had HIV, who eventually died from it a few years later. But it was, again, showing you all of these different people from all over the fucking country, and just even within the United States, how many different kinds of backgrounds people can have. And of course the conflicts that happen, because that's what it's all about, is selling that conflict.
I think it's kind of it's a little bit of a cross section of what we were going through, like, in this generation, right? As the internet was just starting to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
Dial-ups and things like that. Getting computer access was starting to become more prolific. Like, it was starting to become affordable, where more people could get access to a computer. And then, so we were still in this, our view of the world was still limited to what was around us.
Oh, sure.
And it was in our neighborhoods, or what you could see on fucking with Tom Brokaw or Dan Rather on the fucking, primetime news. Otherwise, you had no idea what was going on in the world. Like, we didn't read newspapers.
No.
Like, I didn't. What the fuck? I read the funnies. I read the comics, but other than that, like, this is an introduction for us in our high school years to, hey, this is what other cultures are like.
Yeah.
And this is how, like, what it'd be like if you put these two cultures together. Yeah, and 33 seasons of the Real World, according to this fucking Wikipedia thing.
Yeah, I kind of stopped paying attention after like the 4th season, but hey,
that's a long fucking time. That's 614 episodes of that show. That's insane.
That is insane. But it just goes to show, it's a simple concept can be very successful. And, they were pioneers for that. Because remember, this was like 10 years before Survivor, which a lot of people credit Survivor as the beginning of the reality show era in television, where the Real World was doing this 10 fucking years before that. So pivoting away from that a little bit, I don't know if you remember some regular specials that would happen on MTV. Do you remember the Wayne's World MTV specials as they were promoting the fucking movie? Because you remember Wayne's World started off as an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Parlayed that into a movie, but they would have these specials on MTV where it would be, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, and they would do like a 2-hour MTV special. They did it for both fucking Wayne's World movies, and I think they did one outside of the movies also.
I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wayne's World MTV special party time.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Fully engorged in the marketing.
Yeah, because again, Wayne's World, that whole movie was geared towards us.
Yep.
Our fucking generation, that MTV generation. So there was no fucking way they weren't going to use fucking MTV to help promote this fucking movie.
Yeah.
There was no way. And, I think it paid off, especially with the first one. Because I'm sure you were in the same boat. Fucking, I was there, weekend it opened.
Oh, yeah.
There was no fucking way I was going to miss this.
It was I'm pretty sure this is the first movie that I went and saw without paying for. Like, went in and saw it once and then stayed to see it a second time. And I think it's the first one I've seen like 4 times in the theater.
Nice.
It was my first 4 time in the theaters.
Excellent.
Pulp Fiction being the next one.
Of course. And also Al TV. You remember Weird Al? Al was somebody that Weird Al Yankovic was a mainstay on MTV doing his parodies.
Yeah.
Of the songs and the videos.
Dude, we could do an entire episode alone on Weird Al.
Oh, I fucking loved Weird Al. I've seen him in concert at least 3 times.
It's
the brilliance of that man.
Yeah. And to do it, even by today's standards, to do it being so like, there's no cursing, no fucking just clean, just parody.
Yeah.
And doing it well enough where the people that are the parody from, like, yeah, dude, we love it. Do it. Weird Al is an episode unto himself.
Yep. So that was really, obviously there was a ton of other original programming, but these are the ones that I wanted to kind of hit the highlights of. Were there any others that you wanted to hit before?
No, there, with a lot of these shows, I really didn't care. It didn't move my needle at all.
Yeah. Like
The Real World was an interesting thing, but I never really got into it past season 1, maybe season 2, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The animated stuff, obviously, Beavis and Butthead or whatever. But then as we graduated from the sophomoric humor into watching stuff for actual entertainment value, MTV just completely dropped out of my radar.
Right. And, I mentioned basically at the turn of the millennia, the year 2000 was when MTV was pretty much dead to me, with 3 exceptions.
Okay.
So I have 3 post 2000 things that I actually watched on MTV on a somewhat regular basis.
Okay.
The first one being the Osbournes. Do you remember the Osbournes?
I do remember the Osbournes.
The fucking Ozzy Osbourne reality show. Ozzy Osbourne, brain completely destroyed by drugs, incoherent, yet extremely entertaining, watching him and his family try to function.
Was the Osbournes before Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Oh yeah, way before. So the Osbournes started in 2002.
Okay, that makes sense, because I feel like without the Osbournes, Keeping Up with the Kardashians doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like that whole, hey, follow around this idiot and just fucking all. That's all you gotta do is make a show out of it. Like he can barely speak English.
Yeah.
Like and that's his only language he speaks, and he can barely speak it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think for all of us, the marvel at this man's, like, he could stand up here right now and sing. You know exactly who it is.
Yep.
Completely coherent and everything else. As soon as he's off the fucking stage and turns that shit off, he's a fucking blithering idiot.
Yeah, like
and
a train wreck.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the Osbournes, at least the first season or two of it. WWF Tough Enough. So they came up with a reality show to kind of start going along with the reality show craze of the early 2000s, where it was basically a competition to, they got a dozen people together, and if you lasted long enough, you would actually get a contract with the World Wrestling Federation.
Okay.
This was when the WWF was at its absolute peak. They still had Steve Austin, The Rock, all of these fucking big time stars. This was the pinnacle of that company's success. And they did this reality show on MTV, the WWF Tough Enough.
Huh.
And I watched that for the first season, which was pretty enjoyable.
Which makes sense because you were into wrestling.
Yeah, I was a huge wrestling fan at that point. So, and then the last one I had, and you might have something to say about
this. Is it going to be worse than fucking George Michael video?
Well,
and your obsession with Mariah Carey?
Probably.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Jersey Shore.
Look, it's I can't give you as much shit for that because
you talk about a train wreck, the things that you want to look away but you can't, just the fucking, I don't even know how to describe these, the worst human beings you could ever fathom putting together into a single household here in lovely New Jersey, where we went and visited the house last year.
I want to go on record right now as saying that representative, that those individuals that were represented in that shore house that we went and visited, it was in what I consider to be North Jersey.
Yeah.
As far as for me, as somebody who grew up in the Philadelphia area, anything north of fucking Trenton or north of maybe Mist Islands.
The base for me is anything north of the base is North Jersey to me.
And as a kid growing up in the shore, really anything north of Atlantic City, like even like LBI, Ship Bottom, those places. I knew of those places because I could surf there, but those were north to me.
Right.
All of those fuckers that were in that fucking place, that was a representative of New York.
Right.
That was the Guidos and all those fucking people from New York. They would come down to Seaside and just inundate that fucking beach with their Guido-ness and everything else. It was fucking horrific, dude. So I started going out with Kathy in 95, right? Officially. Her family is always going to Seaside Heights, right? Which is where the Jersey Shore was filmed. The first one anyway. And when I first went there, like, went down, like, oh, we're going to be down shore for a week. They do like a week down there.
Yeah. And
I first got down there. I'm like, this is for somebody who grew up going to the shore.
Yeah. But
right?
It's more south of that.
Right. This is that entire environment and all the people there were like, who are these fucking people? Right. And again, I grew up in the suburban Philadelphia. Right. So I'm like, obviously, I grew up in a particular culture with Philadelphia that's a lot different from fucking New York City.
Yeah.
Right. A lot, way far away from the Guidos were the exception, not the rule down here. Whereas once you got up there, they showed up in this fucking house, these fucking nitwits, and basically turned the Jersey Shore into a fucking punchline. And it propagated more of those fuckers to come and inundate themselves into that area of the beach.
Oh, really?
And so it got worse. It's not like people saw that show and were like, oh, these people are fucking idiots. Like we don't want to be involved in that. No, it fucking drew more of them in so that to the point now, like, I will not fucking go. I won't go. I won't go near that fucking boardwalk.
Wow.
I will hurt people if I go on that fucking boardwalk because of the fucking, just this that mentality, that like that Pauly D fucking mentality, that every fucking girl that's walking around out there is like, okay, I'm gonna fucking spear this broad and fucking pull her in, to fucking smack her in the face.
Yeah.
Because I saw that's what they did on Jersey Shore. It puts such a negative connotation on the Jersey Shore that it's even today, even though that like the show itself is not.
Yeah, it's kind of died down. It's had some revivals, but overall, like the hype is long gone.
Because it was a flash in the pan. But the negativity that it brought in my mind as somebody who spent my life going down to the shore, right? Because that's what we call it. We don't call it the beach,
right?
When you're down the shore, you can go to the beach because that's like the sandy area. But going down the shore is going down shore. I have the fucking license plate to prove it, right? And this show did more to damage the fucking credibility of this fucking state that I can't fucking stand it. I cannot. Again, it's a train wreck. It's one of those things where you're watching, you can't look away. But at the same time, for me, growing up in this area, just done irreparable damage to what the shore is for somebody who grew up there.
And I understand that from your perspective. I totally see that. But for me at the time, it was ridiculous. It was fucking like not even believable. But at the same time, like I said, it was one of those things where you can't stop watching.
And I am glad that like you guys got to, when we went down there, when our collective refugee caravan showed up, that were like, hey, this is part of New Jersey, right? It's like, oh, Jersey Shore. And like, all right, yeah, we go see these places and you can go and see this is where the house was. There's a big stupid flag on the fucking garage door, and go and play skee ball and do other stuff. I'm glad that they got to get there and have that experience and kind of see it. But please, for the love of God, don't believe that that's
right.
All right. That's not everybody in New Jersey is fucking like that, because most of those people were imports.
Right. So there was so much other stuff I had notes on, other stuff that we could have gotten to, but this feels like a decent enough closure point.
Yeah.
The main point of this whole episode being MTV had such a profound effect on my entire childhood and teenage years. MTV was as important to me at that time as fucking anything else. So yeah, for me, MTV was for Generation X, it was so important for us.
Yeah.
The introduction to the music, the certain shows that were on there, the Beavis and Buttheads and the Real Worlds and things like that. And it's not anything that I think any other generation is ever going to get to experience.
This is true.
Like a single cable channel exposing us to so much and being this pivotal to our generation.
Before we get too far away from it, Bronco Fett is losing his mind. We're not talking about Jackass. Right. I was never huge into it.
Neither was I.
I was not huge into that show.
Because that was probably what, like 99, 2000? No, it was probably like early 2000s, 01, 02.
I kind of what I alluded to before, like how I can't watch shows because there's like this like anxiety developed towards it, where like that awkwardness of feeling somebody else's awkwardness, like I internalize it too well, and Jackass was one of those things.
Well, and there's I'm all for toilet humor, for raunchy stuff and all that, but I draw a line at certain points. When they did the thing where everybody on the fucking crew used a not an outhouse, but what's the fucking the single stall porta potties,
okay,
right, where they all fucking used a porta potty and then they strapped Johnny Knoxville in it and they turned it upside down. Like that's where I draw the line. Like with like shit and piss and stuff like that. No, I want nothing to fucking do with anything like that.
And like I'm with you there. But there's just a point where it's like this is making me uncomfortable. So I'm not going to watch it. And for me, it wasn't just straight potty humor. It's just like when there's that level of discomfort, then I become uncomfortable and I'm not entertained. The irony is that Bam Margera is like from this area.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah. I think his parents live in Cherry Hill, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he like grew up right in this area.
Yeah.
So it's and look, those guys. There was a lot of people that really enjoyed that, and good on them. Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it was never on my radar. Like that. This was about the time when I had my first kid. He was an infant, and I had other shit going on. The last thing I'm going to do is sit down and watch fucking Jackass, where basically these guys are just inflicting like permanent physical damage onto each other, or they're shitting and pissing on each other. And I'm just like, no, this isn't for me. And again, this is part of that post 2000 MTV where for the most part, it was irrelevant to me and anything I was interested in.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's that.
Trying to type in the chat and not Westchester. Yeah. Okay. The other side of the river.
Okay. But yeah, that's it for MTV. I know that there was so much that we missed.
Oh,
and if there's anything that we missed that you want us to talk about, hit us up in the Sidebar Cantina.
Yes.
Search Facebook. Go to the Sidebar Cantina. Request membership. We've let a couple of new people in this week that have requested access.
Nice.
So, if we like your face and you want to get in, then we'll let you in. You can chat. You can experience everything in the Sidebar Cantina with us. And you can be like, hey, you didn't talk about fucking, I don't know.
Reading is fundamental, Jason.
Yeah, I'm trying to see something that I missed in my notes. But anyway, you didn't talk about this person's music videos or whatever. Right. So
yeah, it's a foundational piece of our generation. It's impossible to do it in 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're covering 20 years worth of content.
Fucking insane.
Yeah. So that's that. Next week we've got some things on the back burner that we think we're going to try to do next week. I don't want to spew it out just yet until we finalize it.
Word.
But be ready for that, and be ready for a lot of movie anniversaries coming up this year.
Oh man, so many.
Yeah.
The fact that I missed Beavis and Butthead Do America, I'm going to have to really scour the internet to make sure that I'm not missing another big one.
And probably the biggest one that's coming up next is A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
What do we say? 50 years?
50 years in February.
Yeah. So next month, A Clockwork Orange turns 50. You can watch it right now on Netflix. I know for a fact that it's streaming on Netflix right now. If it's not Netflix, it's Amazon Prime. One of the two.
I don't know. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
I'll update it in the cantina. But yeah, watch A Clockwork Orange because we're going to talk about that next month in February. So in the meantime, we're going to have a few other topics for January. Be there or be square. Thanks for listening, and leave us a review.
Yes, leave us a review. I didn't check to see if we have 5-star reviews. I have a feeling Jason's going to do that right now.
Oh, I don't know where the fuck my phone is.
Right, meow.
I completely lost it.
While he's dick dancing around with that, follow us at Gen X POV on all the social media outlets.
What the fuck is it?
Follow Jason searching for his phone at gmail.com. And honestly, what we really want, we are a podcast and we're doing this via audio, but we're doing this on YouTube because we like to interact with the chat. I mean, that's a big part of what we enjoy with the show. We enjoy interacting with people live, and we want to have more people to do that. So follow us on Instagram, do all that stuff, but find us on YouTube. Search for from a Gen X POV. What the fuck was it in?
It was on the floor, blending in with the carpet.
Nice. That's what you get for having a red phone. And a blue carpet, by the way. Yeah, get in there, smash. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. We are a weekly show, and we will continue that unless for some reason we don't. There's certainly an exception, not the rule, but we will be here every week trying to entertain you. Join us in the chat, share us with your friends.
Entertain us.
What?
Entertain us. It's a Beavis and Butthead. Entertain us.
And I got nothing. Go to podbelly.com. Follow all those people. Follow the Escape Pod. Follow the Use and Abuse podcast. Watch on Thursday for my epic rant about the shit show dumpster fire that was the Philadelphia Eagles this fucking season.
Oh, I can't wait.
What a fucking Neither can I. Because I need to purge. I need to get this shit out of my fucking system.
Yep.
Much like I do this fucking pee right now. So we should. Did you find it?
What are you saying?
We need to stop. We need to throw our fucking pee signs up because I gotta pee.
All right. Well, yeah, that's it. So no new 5-star reviews.
Okay, fair enough. And I'll look at Audible later. But yes, do it. Leave us reviews.
Yes, do it. All right.
Stand by for the after show if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yep. And otherwise, remember, everything we told you today was true from a Gen X point of view.
What do I click? What do I click?
Nice.
Oh, I gotta pee.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Kate is?
Yeah.
Corona. As soon as he went outside, I hear boom, boom, boom. Ow. That's good shit. So, who do we still have in the chat? Let me get caught up on the chat. I'm sorry, I have completely been ignoring the chat all day. Thank you, Kelly. Great show. What's still smoldering? I don't know what's going on. GTL, Gym Tan Laundry. Yeah, like I heard you go outside and then I heard boom, boom, ow. Like, what the fuck?
Eagles are still smoldering. Yeah, they're doing something all right. Well, Bronco Fett, your experience in New Jersey was Fort Dix, right? So my TI in basic training called McGuire Fort Dix the armpit of America, right? So he didn't have a very good experience in Fort Dix either. I've definitely been on worse bases. That is for damn sure. If you're fuck me, look, Jersey Shore notwithstanding, like if you're stationed at McGuire, like you bear the benefit of you're an hour away from Philadelphia. You're like 3 hours away from New York City. You're 2.5 hours away from being able to go skiing. You're an hour and 15 minutes away from the beach. And you drive a little bit further south, you're 3.5, 4 hours away from fucking Washington, D.C. Being stationed at McGuire gets you out of being like in the D.C. area, like him having to deal with that fucking shit show and the cost of living there. You're out in the middle of nowhere, but at the same time, if you are interested in doing those things and maybe you're not exposed to fucking snow, it maybe gets a chance to see snow, go up in the Poconos and do that. Bronco Fett's talking about how his experience in Jersey was very meh. But I told him,
when was he here?
He was in Fort Dix.
Oh, right.
Where it was Army deal.
Oh, yeah. You got to get outside of the base.
Well, like I said, if you're stationed at McGuire, you get to be close to a lot of fucking shit.
Right. But you still have to, like, to truly experience it, you have to venture out.
You do.
At least 20 minutes in any direction.
I was telling him that my Staff Sergeant Hobbick and basic was he called McGuire the armpit of America. Which granted at the time, like Wrightstown, what's really like military bases are really funny because any military base in the US especially, like you will step outside the gate, you're going into an area
in the ghetto.
It's the ghetto.
Yeah.
Like outside the gate in McGuire was no exception. I mean, they had a fucking really awful fucking like titty bar.
Oh yeah.
Remember
Illusions,
that?
right?
Yeah. And so you had Illusions, and there's still a really there's a couple of really seedy bars. There was a taxi fucking place that was like they demolished that, thank God.
Yeah.
like, and Illusions was, oh, by the way, right catty corner to a fucking elementary school.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, like you can, but if you went off base at the time, like you could have the trifecta. You could pick your kid up from elementary school. You could get fucking dinner at Wendy's, and you go see titties.
Yeah, right there,
Right
all
there.
like within walking distance.
Yeah, like you could legitimately, and that's the majority of bases. I remember down in Eglin was a lot. You go out the back gate of Eglin, and it's like, oh my god, where the fuck am I? Like you're waiting for people to come out of the fucking woods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and McGuire's no exception to that.
Yeah,
and it's an old, really well established base. Did you know? Maybe we've talked about this before. Did you know that they removed a city to put McGuire there?
No.
So Fort Dix had been there, right? And you know how Texas Avenue, when you're going through the base, right? You're going past the end of the runway.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main street of a town.
No shit.
Yeah, it was. Oh fuck, I can't think of the name of it. Oh my god, you brought up this trivia and you don't remember the name of the town. Anyway, but if you go on the McGuire website and go like into history, they'll actually show you like, hey, here's this town. Like, here's the main drag. Here's houses and a fucking general store and a church. All that shit was like right off the end of the runway.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they bought the government bought that property, they basically were like, okay, this is the reason that cemetery is there.
Oh,
that cemetery there was a church right there next to the cemetery. They obviously didn't.
Now there's a hangar right there.
Well, no, I'm talking about further down the road, like across the street from the EC.
Oh, you're getting towards Browns Mills?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Like there's a cemetery right basically at the end of the runway.
Yeah.
And that was Pointsville, something. Anyway, that cemetery is the remnants of that town that was there. And allegedly, according to these articles that I was looking at, I got down some fucking internet rabbit hole, right? According to these articles, they were saying the church was bought for like basically a $1, right? And they took the church apart, and the parts of that church are actually fucking reassembled to a church in Belmar down the road from here.
Get the hell out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like that correlation, because it's not close. I mean, we're fucking 55 minutes to an hour away from it. But yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Out in the middle of fucking nowhere. They're having a base and then removing a town so you could put a fucking runway in.
That's crazy. All right. So I got to ask, you knew Nick was coming tonight?
I did.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I completely shocked when I saw the door open and his head come in. I'm like, what the fuck?
So here's how it went down. Nick sends me a text. He's like, hey, do you want a mall? Right? Because the
mall pop that we showed. Yeah.
The mall. Like he shows me the box and there's fucking 3 of them in the box there. And I'm like, the answer is yes. Duh.
Yeah. Do you even need to ask?
Yeah. What the fuck? So he's like, well, are you near Morristown? I'm like, not really. I mean, it's like a half hour away. It's like, well, when are you going to be in the area? And he's like, well, I'll be there today. Because my son has a physical therapy. I'm like, well, Cherry Hill's right next to Morristown.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe pop in. And he's like, my son's thing is 2 hours. If we did it at the end, it's gonna, like, I'm like, dude, just fucking, like, yeah, okay. If you're gonna pop in right in the middle of it, be fucking great.
Yeah, no, fuck it.
I was like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, we just sidetrack us even more. I mean, we're gonna do that on our own anyway.
Oh yeah. No, that was a complete surprise. No idea that was going to happen. So that was cool.
I said to him, like, God, I might even tell Jason that you're coming. And he's like, no, don't tell him. Okay.
No, that was good shit. I like that.
Yeah. It's funny too, because you'd never expect him to be in the area.
No. Because when he said, oh yeah, I was in the area, I'm like, bullshit. Don't you live like fucking an hour and a half from here or something like that?
Well, I mean, I think it's an hour, but the time that we drove over there, it was fucking monsoon.
Yeah, it was the storm of the century.
So it took us a little bit extra time to get there.
Yeah.
I gotta find a place for this guy. Did you look at him? Did you see he's got like the magic legs?
Yeah, magic legs.
Magic legs.
Yep.
It's a mall pop I never knew I needed.
I'm sure there's a lot of those. I was at Walmart 2 days ago with Kristen. She had to buy some groceries and I went with her, and I walked over to the electronics / toy section, and they had a whole section of pops, and there were just like a ton of pops that I had no idea they were making pops out of. I'm like, they did a pop out of that?
Dude, there's pops for everything.
Yeah.
Like I get a daily email for what's out there from like 3 different, like the actual Funko like site, and then there's like some ancillary like pop in a box and whatever, but don't use pop in a box because they don't know how to ship their shit.
Yeah. But yeah, if it has had any relevance in pop culture ever, there's a pop for it.
Yep.
It's like crazy.
Yeah, there's, he said, you can really, as soon as you stray away from the fucking Star Wars, and there's a lot.
Yeah.
But
a whole new world.
The Marvel universe has a fuck ton of pops.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
There's, and it crosses genres, and that's kind of the cool thing about the pops, is it like it's not just a Marvel thing, it's not a DC thing. Like it'll have all of it. Harry Potter, it has all the Harry Potter shit. It has, like, if you can think about it, there's probably a pop for it. Yeah. Although fucking I think it was David Schmuck in the sidebar had said the because I had this Sorcerer's Apprentice one, it's like, oh, now you need the brooms. I'm like, like, is that a real thing? He's like, oh, so I'm like frantically looking for it. And he's like, oh no, it probably is. I'm like, okay, so I would have.
So they weren't real.
They weren't real, not yet, but it got me fucking excited. Which this is the problem was. This is when I was looking for the broom pops, and I came across a gritty one that I had in my little fucking. Hey, if you have an extra a couple bucks, maybe you pick this guy up. I'm like, well. Fuck it. I have a problem.
There's a Hans Gruber one?
Oh, totally. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Well, and it's funny, like, you know, we talk about the Transformers one. That's what I was just going to talk about. The Transformers pops intrigue me. Speaking of Transformers, my cousin's showing me that fucking Top Gun
the Transformer Top Gun,
the fucking Maverick helmet. I'm like, oh my God, there was on Facebook Marketplace, there was a dude selling like original Transformers, and it was for the I think he had Starscream, and he had what was the Autobot jet plane, the F-15 version.
Oh, what were their names?
I don't remember.
Only
one I can remember was Starscream. Like, but he had like 3 jets. They were like $75 each for the jet, and then he had like a couple of cars. Yeah, and they were like, I think I want to say like 35 for the cars. Okay, and then he had some of the bigger ones too. Like he had some, you know, some of the like when they went through that Voltron phase where like you're sticking them all together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he had a couple of those. So I'm like, I can't let myself go down this road. Because there's a part of me, I went through this brief hiccup where it's like, I want to have all the toys that I had when I was a kid. Yeah. It happened with the space shuttle thing. It was like, oh, the space shuttle toy that I had when I was a kid, I really want that. And I found it. And it was not extraordinary in the price. You know, it's remarkable that there was more than one on there. You know, right. The 747 with the shuttle on top of it, the little die cast. And they're like, well, I had a Matchbox card I really fucking liked. And I'm like, oh, wow, then here it is. And fucking eBay is the devil.
It is.
The devil.
Yeah, especially, when you start talking about the original Transformers, the original He-Man.
Yes.
That shit'll very quickly start escalating price-wise.
Can't do it. And then I look at Brett from the Tattooing Collector.
Oh, yeah, he's getting shit every fucking day, it seems like.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
I'm totally jealous. Like all that in package fucking mess.
Oh yeah, it's like every day he's like slipping a new one into a fucking protective case and everything. I'm like, God damn,
it's a sickness. It is a sickness.
I believe it.
And it's honestly, it's just a sickness that will probably die with us.
Hopefully.
I think we talked about this before. Like our commitment to our toys, like, is not necessarily shared by the younger generation.
Yeah, like I can tell you for sure, my kids, I don't think they're going to be nostalgic for any of their old toys. Ever.
I can imagine with like maybe game systems they would be.
Yes, but I'm talking just like toys.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't see them getting very nostalgic for any of that stuff.
Yeah. It was a simpler time.
Yeah. Whereas like, I would do the same thing. Like if I could go back and buy every fucking He-Man toy I had, every fucking Transformer I had the original Megatron. the Megatron that was actually a fucking gun.
The real gun.
Yeah.
It was like chrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like metal and shit, like die cast, and you fucking transform him. And
The kind of thing that you got in trouble for if you brought to a school.
well,
Like,
you would
even
now,
in those days.
but
No, in those days, a fucking kid got in trouble because he brought the Megatron in.
I don't remember hearing about that.
There's a whole fucking. So I got in trouble in, I think it was third grade.
Mm.
I don't know. Mask was out.
Right.
The mask toys.
Yep.
And I had I'd gotten hold of a bullet, right? From I think it was from my grandpop at the time.
Mm.
Like he reloaded his own ammo, and I just happened to, like, snatch a bullet.
Right.
So was talking about it in school, and some kids like, oh, I'd like to have that. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to trade for it? So I traded a mask fucking, I think it was a figure or the figure and a vehicle for a bullet. The kid gets home, immediately rats me out when his parents are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it's Steve Martin. And I fucking get dragged into school because of fucking bringing a bullet to school. not even a gun, the bullet.
Right.
So, oh man, I got my fucking shit kicked in for that.
I'm sure. Like the only time I got in trouble for bringing toys to school was, remember when muscle things were a big thing? The little pink fucking wrestlers. I had a bunch of those that I brought to school one day, even though they were strictly forbidden and everything. A guy had the one that I wanted, the fucking claw hand. You remember the one that was the fucking claw hand? Oh, hold on. I'm going to bring this up because it's that important.
I remember having them. I don't remember anything specific. Oh, excuse me. Holy shit.
Bring it up. You'll see it. You should.
Naughty Dave. Yeah. Jetfire. Okay. Coming from the escape pod, Jetfire was one of the. It doesn't ring a bell, though. I believe you. It doesn't ring a bell, though.
All right.
I had Starscream.
Hold on. So these were the muscle figures.
Right.
You remember those,
Uh-huh.
right? So the hand was, where'd he go? Right here.
$39.
Was this guy. Remember him?
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. I should share my screen so people can see. Share screen. Bloop. Share. You guys see that? The hand, the muscle thing hand.
Yep.
And if you go over to here, back. Where's the fucking? So these are like what the muscle things look like. Oh man, I would kill to have all of those again.
But there's I think Brett had gotten some recently too.
Yeah, that's what started me thinking about that again. I commented on that. Yeah. I commented on how I got in trouble at school for bringing a bunch. So,
man, those toys. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
super dangerous. Well, at least for you, like, you have a lot of stuff, like your Star Wars stuff, especially.
Yeah, I kept all of my Star Wars stuff for the most part.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I wish I kept my He-Man stuff. I wish I kept my Transformers. What the fuck can you do, right?
Well, I think with the Transformers, for me, there was the chances of them being worth anything because I played with them. Well, so I beat the shit out of them.
For me, it's not even a value thing. It's just to have them, you know, because I had Ultra Magnus. Remember Ultra Magnus, who was basically the white Optimus Prime?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had the Optimus Prime, but I also had Ultra Magnus, who was, you know, the white version of Prime. I had both of those. I had fucking Megatron. I think I had a Starscream. I think I had a Bumblebee. Just, I don't know. I would just give anything to just have those in my fucking hands again.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, the old Transformers, there's you know, my cousin Rick, he has some of the newer things and has gotten some retro stuff because he got a hold of a lot of his older toys.
Mm. I
agree. Like, just the nostalgia of like putting this stuff together would just be fun.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I've had some modicum of restraint, at least for that.
Oh, sure.
Which is not saying much, I guess. You know, I want that's the type of restraint I would like my wife to see, like, oh wow, look how restrained he's being by not doing that. But it's like, it's ridiculous because you don't need any of it at all. Like,
so
applauding me for not fucking murdering a bunch of children.
Right. Do we want to address Tom's question?
I would like to do Transformers next.
Yeah, because
I would like to do it so that maybe we talk about the initial season of Transformers, and then maybe talk about the initial run of toys.
Yeah, because you can't break it down as an entire series in
No.
one shot. There's too much. Then you've got the first movie involved with that, and then you've got the countless reboots over the years. I think if we're going to do Transformers, if we want to do it right, it's got to be in multiple parts.
I agree.
It can't just be one episode.
I think we brand it as Introduction to Transformers.
Okay.
Do the first season of the cartoon, and then that first run of the toys.
Right.
And then we can always do more later. You know, for the Transformers.
Well, yeah, because there was a drastic shift after the Transformers movie. You know, when they killed off a lot of the characters, you had the rise of Rodimus Prime, and
I think you talked about it before, like where you're talking about, you know, as our first loss as a child was some, like, you know, Optimus Prime
fucking dying
like,
on screen. You're like,
how can this happen?
Yeah.
Like, wait, they're giant robots that chase each other with guns and shit all the time. I guess I should have expected one of them was going to die.
Right.
But they never did until then.
Yeah.
Then everything changed.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
No, I just got a work text. Because, you know, 8:00 at night is an appropriate time to ask me a question about work.
Obviously.
So let me just respond real quick. I'm only helping them. I'm like,
wankers. So I've actually, so today was an off day for me. So I'm not looking forward to actually having to log in for Reels tomorrow. Yeah. It's going to be great. It's one of those where we talked about it for our New Year stuff. I would like have to, Robert Stack is Ultra Magnus.
That's right. He was. Unsolved Mysteries.
I did.
Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah, but I can't believe I never made that correlation until just a second.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But as soon as you say it out loud, it's like, holy fuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And honestly, for me, like, a lot of these topics, I don't realize how much, even while I'm researching it, I don't realize how much I remember about something until we start talking about it.
Right. Yeah. And then you start getting the wheels turning and you're like,
because doing research, like, you don't even know where to start sometimes. Like the MTV one, it's like, all right, I'm going to start from the beginning and see what shakes loose. And I think I lost a lot of traction when I started looking at the, you know, top sexiest videos. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch this.
And then he's just watching Shakira videos for the next 2 hours.
I mean, at least one of them.
Right.
I mean, I'm a human goddamn being.
No, I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, Transformers. I think if we do season 1, I think that it won't burden us with a lot of. We can definitely do a whole fucking episode about it.
Oh, easy.
And
very easy.
I think it would be nice to.
The bigger thing for me is just trying to find the episodes and actually carving out the time to watch at least a handful of them before going into it.
Yeah. Didn't you say? I think you said they were on a streaming service, though. Didn't you? Aren't they on Hulu?
Did I say that?
I thought you did.
I can check my services real quick.
Transformers. Yum. Wait, what?
Is that how that goes?
No, it's not. Not even a little bit. It's a Red Robin. Yum. Transformers TV series streaming. That's why we need a producer, folks.
I know. Jamie, pull that up.
It's on Tubi, Amazon Prime.
The Transformers Cyberverse cartoon is on Hulu. Yo, Voltron is on Hulu. Yeah, not much on Hulu for
No, I'd have to.
Our generation of
I'd
Transformers.
have to buy season 1 for $13 off of Prime. I might have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not the steepest price to pay. Transformers. Transgenders. More than meets the eye.
Dude, I think you're in that group. You're in that Peak Gen X group.
The one you added me to?
Yeah. Did you see the watch Transformer?
No.
Somebody posted the other day. Do you remember that? It was like it basically it looked like, remember I want to say Blaster. It was basically the boombox.
Oh yeah. I knew somebody who had that one.
Yeah. So it was Blaster, except on a watch. It was like silver, had an LCD screen across it, and you could move the legs down and
And this was real at the time?
Oh yeah. No, I had one. I totally had one.
Shit.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was a Transformer. Shut up. I'm pretty sure it was a branded Transformers thing. I had some GoBots too.
Well, yeah, and we can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
We can talk about starting off with the GoBots and then going to
GoBots, the illegitimate child of our Transformers.
You can buy season 1 in standard definition for $2.
You can buy episode 1 for $2.
Oh,
the season.
No, it says it's purchasing. No, stop. Fuck. I didn't tell it to actually buy the fucking thing. Amazon. Whoops. All right. Anyway, Transformers next week.
Yes, and we will do it.
All
right. It's 8 p.m.
Yeah, it's almost my bedtime. So, time to say goodnight.
Voltron is out there.
Oh, yeah, and it's on the list.
Yeah, Voltron's out. Don apparently has a blaster in his possession. You son of a bitch.
Who? What?
GoBots are the holiday special of robots.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the analogy. All right, let's get signed off.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for sticking with us this long.
Yeah.
You're the best. We love you all.
Share and subscribe.
And we'll see you next week.
Hit the like button.